Friends, happy Easter. March 31st in the year of our Lord 2024, Virtual Strangers, episode 210 is live. I am your host, Wes. With me, as always, is my good friend, Ruuts. Ruuts, happy Easter, friend.
Yeah, happy Easter. Actually, I guess I'm sitting here in the big screen. I might as well switch over to the interesting.
Is that the Cadbury bunny?
I think it is. It looks just like him. It's very very spry and chocolatey. Well, probably not chocolatey, but
do you remember, like, from when we were growing up, all of the propaganda we used to have to consume this time of the year with the bunny that just bark 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 like a chicken all the time? Bark 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 bark. Bark.
Thanks, Easter Bunny. Bark bark. Yeah, I got all that fucking shit bouncing around in my head, and I want to have words with these executives, right? They put that stuff in there, and it's still here like 40 years later. How crazy is that? That is crazy.
Yeah, I break out, like, things trigger me all the time, and I break out into jingles left and right. They're just remnants of my childhood and all of the propaganda that I took in through the television.
Yeah, we got Cheers though. Sam Malone and Norm.
That's true.
Yeah, we got a couple good things, right?
When we were in Boston last weekend, people kept bringing up that bar, that Cheers bar. Apparently, that the place where they shot the outside of the bar is in Boston, but the inside is just a completely different bar. They shot the inside in Hollywood, but the outside was shot in Boston, and people kept wanting to visit that like it was something something to do, right? To go out to town just so you can see the door and the sign.
Yeah, I'm not interested in driving by the Brady house or all those things that people are like, oh my god, I want. It was cool on TV. I feel like that would wreck, like, especially if you walked in the bar and you're like, wait a minute, this isn't the bar. Like you said, it's a completely different layout, right, on the inside. So, or is it the same layout and just was filmed inside Hollywood?
Yeah, I don't think it's the same layout at all. I think it's just a completely different place, and surely it would be. Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess they could have switched it up to make it more of a a tourist attraction. But apparently, this is something to do. Like, people kept bringing it up like every day. If it weren't so cold, I'm sure that people would have actually went there.
Well, it's a place to go drink. That alone is a reason to go, right? So.
My wife is over here. She can't breathe. She hasn't stopped laughing since the beginning of the episode because she realized what we did.
Well, the meaning of life. I think it's very special, Wes. And they say
it's a throwback.
It's a throwback.
It's a Virtual Strangers Easter egg.
It is. It's a literal Easter egg, and there's nothing more special than life. And they say that when I don't know, you're having sex like rabbits or multiplying like rabbits. So, like that's life.
That is life. So for those of you who were wondering what in the hell is going on right now, like Ruud said, it's the miracle of life. It's a throwback. I don't know if it was our first Easter episode or our second Easter episode.
It was the first because
it was the first one.
I'm pretty sure Main Fan and Alex were still there at the show. I know that at least Alex was there. It wasn't just us two. So yeah, that's it's more blown up.
Yeah, I remember now. Alex. I remember how red his face got before we realized what was going on. Like he noticed it immediately. But so this was back when Ruuts was ahead of his time, and of course he already had his background going on, right? And he decided to do nice fluffy bunny rabbits for Easter, for his Easter background. And what he didn't realize was that the clip, it was like some 20 or 30 minute clip, but about halfway through it, the rabbit started giving birth to babies. And it was a lot more graphic than this one even is. This one's kind of tame. But he just kept talking about VR, and my wife was dying and Alex was dying. And then eventually I caught on to it, and Ruuts was still just talking and talking with live birth going on behind him.
I think I remember Paradise Decay like commenting about it in the chat as well. And yeah, it was good times. It was a lot smaller. It was like in a small little square compared to this big blown out thing. But I think those babies are cute, and I think they may make a good pet someday. I don't know. I'm still torn. I'm on the edge of that. So
they could make a good pet. They can make a good dinner. I mean, there's lots of uses for them.
That's right. You could put them in a pot and fry somebody's pet. Well, never mind. That's a movie. I don't want to do that. That's creepy too. Yeah, that's the end of the date. Never talking to that chick again if that's the case.
You know, every for what it's worth, every rabbit I've ever tried to keep as a pet has been dinner for some animal that has come in and killed it.
No, I thought you were going to say that had been dinner for you. And I was going to say, holy shit, dude. What a life lesson for your kids, right? I just like, don't get attached to bunnies because now every one of mine, we had one. My daughter did a PowerPoint presentation when she was like,
God, did it just eat one of them?
I don't. Well, okay, listen, we don't want to judge. There's apparently cannibals. So ironically, Wes didn't realize the video he picked had a cannibal bunny in it.
I'm really hoping that was the placenta.
It probably was a placenta because if I'm being honest, I'd have to slap my hand to keep myself from eating that placenta right now. They say it's healthy. You know what I mean? Like, who doesn't want a healthy bunny placenta? It ate something there. I don't know. I really hope it was the placenta. It was the afterbirth. Yeah, subtasticus. That's normal. That is normal. That's normal. You know, how abnormal is it that we don't follow that as human?
Yeah, I know.
You know,
how much do you love your child? I mean, you know,
that's true. You must not love them very much. But yeah, excellent throwback. I told Wes I was thinking about this thing today and debating putting it as my video background. And Wes was ahead of my curve, and he had already picked it and picked this. I was reading my mind and got a laugh out loud for me as I was putting the show together because it just triggered my memories.
Yeah, it's always a good thing to do to look back and laugh a little bit about some of the things that we've done. But happy Easter, everyone! This was kind of our little Easter egg, Easter gift for everyone.
Yes.
But with that said, I think EV Man versus Gas is correct. This is kind of gross, so we should probably move on and talk about VR a little bit. Luke Ross Ruuts actually gave us all a surprise Easter gift. Was it yesterday, as he announced Horizon Forbidden West is now compatible with the real VR mod. So I'm kind of mixed mind with this, Ruuts. So like, on the one hand, I mean, it's cool. It's a modern AAA exclusive, Sony exclusive, or it was a Sony exclusive for some time. And I'm down. You know, Luke Ross mods are gamepad only. But I'm fine with that. Like, that doesn't bother me at all. But on the other hand, I think about this in the context of the current landscape where we have Unreal Mod and 1,000 games. And it makes me just wonder just how significant Luke Ross even can be in 2024.
I was thinking about this earlier today as well, but as long as because you look at the list of games that he's done on here, right? And I posted this in the Discord, and Looper was quick to post, and he's 100% correct. And a lot of these are already on that list for Unreal Engine VR mod. And not only are they on that list, but like, why would you not play them in that mod? Because it's better, and you can customize it so much more. You can, to the point where you can have first person control of the guns, and but that doesn't take away from what Luke Ross is doing in a sense, because what he needs to do, and he's doing with this, is targeting games that aren't available to go into that mod, right? There's a lot of games that aren't Unreal Engine games that I want to play. This is one of them, the Spider-Mans, just there's certain ones, because I go into all the time, a new game's coming out, and I'm like, I look immediately, what engine's it in? And I'm like, oh, it's not Unreal Engine. So it's like a very specific thing that has to be for that engine for me to be able to play it. Has to be in that one Unreal. Now everything's
Yep.
slowly moving over there, but it's slowly moving because Unreal right now is as good as it is and as easy it is as it is for a lot of developers to use. It also is a lot harder to keep stable, to get stable. And so
Right.
like a lot of developers, and I watch it in comments of big AAA games, people are like, what engine is it? And they're like, oh, it's a proprietary, you know, original engine. And people are, thank God it's not. I've literally read this. Thank God it's not Unreal Engine. And then people start trashing Unreal Engine, and it's not that bad,
Yeah.
and it's getting better, but it, you know, it needs to be a lot more stable and you know, a lot and just run better for it to be a big thing. But the biggest thing is takeaway is the different games that aren't even Unreal. Right now, a lot of them can't. They just, there's nobody out there putting them in there. So
Well, that's true. And for what it's worth, most of the actual real AAA games aren't in Unreal or Unity. Most of the actual games that come from big AAA studios that have multi-millions of dollars put into them are in custom engines. And that's true of Horizon. That's true of so many of these other big time exclusives that that people love so much. The $70 and $80 games. I mean, sometimes you'll find one in Unreal, but most of them are done in Decima Engine, or you know, what's the Resident Evil game is in another one. Now, some of those are based a lot on Unreal, and they're modified versions of Unreal. But you're right, Luke Ross can, you know, as good as the Unreal mod is, the very best of the best games aren't compatible with it. So there's certainly an opportunity, if Luke chooses his games right, that he can keep his numbers up even today. Now, is the Horizon sequel the game that everyone would have picked? Maybe not, but he probably had quite a head start on it because he did the first Horizon. And that's
absolutely.
kind of the source of my other bit of trepidation with this is the first Horizon mod wasn't perfect. I mean, it was playable, it was good, um, but it wasn't great. There were some camera issues with it. There were some frame rate issues with it. It wasn't very comfortable to play. But with that said, that was before Real VR Mod was updated to AER 2.0, which is a lot different than it used to be. And I think we've all had a graphics card update since then as
Mhm.
well. So it
A-
might not be so bad anymore.
And he's,
Um,
I don't even know how many games he's put out since then, and also fine tuned many a different games. So like that's the beauty of this mod, is it's like you have all these listed games. You're not getting I mean, it's kind of like the Unreal Engine mod in a way. You know, you have one mod for everything, and so as he's updating everything, he's updating them all, and each one of them is you know, it's tweaking and making each one of them run better. And I guarantee that Horizon game probably plays a lot better than it did back then, even just the original game outside of the hardware. But everything you just said is 100% true. And so I'm kind of curious to see how good it plays, and how good the original would have played. Because it didn't play the best, and that's why I didn't play that far into it. It was like, even though it was kind of compelling, I was like, I even with my hardware I had back then, didn't seem to be good enough. So
Yeah, and the way the movement is in that game, like if the frame rate's down, it's going to give you a headache and eye strain is what I remember from it. I do remember enjoying playing, but I couldn't play for very long at a time, like 45 minutes. I had to put it down an hour, something like that. But it could be better now, and this is a different game and a newer game by many years. So I imagine that this is going to be all the more amazing if he managed to get a good mod out for it. Um, I still want my Last of Us roots. Like, why don't you just give me the damn Last of Us in VR?
that would make sense. That's what he's, well, then I'm surprised he must have, I'm sure he's tried, but hopefully we get it, because that would be amazing. I've got it, the remastered version in my library, or we do, to play. We could play it. I literally, I've played so far in that game, Wes. Let me tell you where I'm at. I had this little girl in my arms, and I was running down a street. Oh wait, that's the very beginning. I got through the
That's the
beginning
intro,
scene,
yeah.
and it's the intro. And then I was like, "Fuck, man, I don't know if I want to play this because I think that it's got to come out in some kind of a mod, right?" So
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so, man. And I'm keep holding my breath, waiting on it. In the meantime, though, we have all those Far Cries that he has brought into it. We've got Horizon, and then we've got the library of Unreal games that we can check out. And we're gonna check one of those out this week, aren't
yeah, absolutely. We're gonna check out Weird West, and it's gonna be amazing. Have you tried Marvel Spider-Man? Any of the Marvel Spider-Mans?
we? Only in Reshade. We did. Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure it was only in Reshade that we tried that one out, and it was pretty cool. I liked
yeah.
it.
I think it'd be cooler in one of these mods. But yeah, no, we're gonna have. I
Absolutely.
think Weird West is gonna be amazing in the Unreal Engine VR mod. It's some people actually watched me stream it in Twitch, and several people were saying, "Damn, this thing looks really cool." Um, so good. I think it was Void was one of
Well,
them.
we are going to find out this week, probably for Friday. But we don't know exactly what the schedule is going to be this week because this also happens to be our game of the month week. So either on Friday or Sunday, we're going to be doing game of the month. And whichever one of those we're not doing game of the month, we'll be talking about Weird West. So stay tuned for that.
Not sure. Brondo says I could have random clips of animal mating playing behind me. Nothing would bring me more joy than to be known for that. Although I think that might be it's for a special occasion. I think bring out
That might be against community guidelines,
that
or I'm just saying.
that probably would. I think busting it out every once in a while might be. You know who loves it when you bust it out every once in a while?
My mom.
Yeah, just don't do it in public. It's not legal. Just warning.
Anyway, let's get this show all off to a better start, and let's say hello to our friends in chat. Substatica is here, as is Shapeshifter, the amorphous game cat. Brondo is here, as is Chrome Colossus. Phil Marshall is here. Mark Pringlesleaf, Mind Jive, Techno Glitch, Quadzilla, Eevee Man versus Gas, James, VR SpryGuy, Mao is here. Looper is here. Um, let's see here. He says, and it's in the show notes, so everything's fair. Yeah, that's right. Those who paid for our Patreon have the luxury of clicking on that rabbit birth link and enjoying it on their own time.
Yeah, and speaking of the rabbit birth, Chrome Colossus said that how many calories is a rabbit placenta? Is he was what he was looking up, and I want to know what the answer to that question. He looked it up on Google. I want to know what kind of nutrients does a rabbit get?
I want to know if they make the impossible rabbit placenta,
Dude.
out of soy and keto.
I'm pretty sure that's impossible, Wes. I don't. Yeah, I always wonder what that really is because they're telling you it's not what it is. It's impossible.
It's whatever it is. It's vegan.
It's vegan.
So
Well,
that
there.
matters.
Yeah, that is all that matters.
Let's see who else is here. Mal, Quadzilla, Looper, Island Kara's here. Mickey Barrios is here. Mad Vegan is in the house as well. Chinatown D, what up? Scott's Wild Camper. Xbox Game Pass only bitch, and sometimes PS4 LOL is here. Hooked Worm, the Hoosier Game Cat, in the house as well. Truth Hurts Mutant Ninja Game Cat is here. Chaos is here. Gabriel 004 is here. Kramer 3K, the non VR Game Cat, is here as well. Rogue TR, Prophecy 777, Boognish 66, Vince Virtua, Radio Runt's here. Evan Yabu is here. Ryan B is here. Vargosoft's here. Four Willens here. Silvernex is here. Lozix is here. And Ryan Brandon was first. Brandon VR. Anything for Slippies today, Roots? We have anybody slip in? We certainly did.
I was gonna say I don't remember where you started out.
Roy Martini slipped in, as did GameCat Photo Nutter, Aceville VR, Super Nintendo Chalmers, and I think that is everyone. Thanks everyone for hanging out. And if I missed you, apologies. Like Mind Jive, I don't know if I hit Mind Jive, but what's up, Mind Jive? Roy Martini says, literally just got done playing the new Hellsweeper update, and it's so good on PSVR 2. They finally put the DFR into Hellsweeper Roots, and apparently it's time to give it a look.
I have actually seen several people say exactly what you just said in Discords and stuff. So yeah, I would agree 100%.
TV Man versus Guest said no Eric tonight. Eric typically only joins on the Friday episodes. The Strangers in the Night. Virtual Strangers is just Roots and myself, unless there's a special occasion, something specific that Eric wants to talk about.
Like next
or
week.
sometimes yeah.
Next week would be
Yeah,
right
right,
with the
like-
game of the month if we do it Sunday.
Yeah, I'd say that's very likely. Sometimes he has to miss on Friday and he'll come in on Sunday, but typically just Roots and I on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Anyway, Roots, we've got a pretty decent show lined up today. To be honest, there was a lot of news, but there wasn't a lot of news that I wanted to talk about. Like a bunch of stuff that I didn't really care to mention, but we did scrape up enough here to do a show, and lucky for everyone, the stuff that we're talking about happens to be really cool. Metal Hellsinger VR adapts the rhythm shooter this year on Quest, Steam, and PSVR 2. This is from our friend Henry Stockdale at Upload VR. Metal Hellsinger VR brings the flat screen rhythm shooter to Quest, Steam, and PSVR 2 later this year. Developed by The Outsiders. Is that the Outsiders? Like Kevin Nash and Scott Hall?
I think it is.
Metal Hellsinger previously appeared on the flat screen platforms in 2022 and has now been, quote, reimagined from the ground up for VR, end quote, in collaboration with Lab 42 Games. Playing as a half demon called the Unknown, this tale of revenge sees you moving, dashing, slashing, and shooting demons to the rhythmic beat as you journey through the 8 hells. While the VR adaptation features changes like swapping the most menus for an immersive hub area, you can expect to find the original game's full campaign, difficulty settings, and challenges. The soundtrack, with guest vocals from Serge Tankian from System of a Down, Randy Blythe from Lamb of God, and Alyssa White Glues from Arch Enemy, is also unchanged. However, don't expect Metal Hellsinger VR to be a free update if you already own it on Steam or PS5. Separate store page listing suggests the VR version will require an additional purchase, though pricing details are currently unknown. Metal Hellsinger VR reaches the MetaQuest platform, Steam, and PSVR 2 this year. So here we go, Roots. Just another example of the positive impact that VR modding can have on the VR catalog proper. This is a game that people insisted last year that it gets nominated for VR Mod of the Year, Metal Hellsinger on Steam. Now, we never got around to playing it, but there was no shortage of people singing the praises of that mod. And apparently, while it wasn't a full blown mod, um, that's okay because the studio is coming to the rescue with a full blown VR adaptation this year. And imagine this, Roots, they're doing it without making the original modder take it down off of their website, like unlike some other studios that we know of.
They're not threatened, right? You know what's funny is those other studios are so big that it like it's not a threat. Yeah, you know what I mean? But I don't know. It's just weird. That's cool. I think it's super cool. I think it'll give us a reason to go check it out. Who doesn't want to kill demons? I hate them. I hate them with a passion, so I want to shoot them in the face. Tell the devil to go suck it.
Me too. And this game looks really cool, man. It looks like if Doom were a rhythm game. Is exactly what it looks like. It's like you're going in here and you're playing Doom, but you have to shoot them on the beat. And by the way, the soundtrack, as this article mentions, has some legit artists on it, big time rock stars or metal stars. Some of them that were listed there, and then others still that weren't. But this is how cool the studio is, Roots. Not only did they not make the modder take their mod down, but the music for this game was composed for the game. It's custom music composed for the game,
Wow.
and they've knocked all copyright off of it. So if people want to stream this, it's fine. Go ahead and do it. No one's going to get a copyright strike from YouTube, and they've made sure to let everyone know that it's good. Go ahead and stream it.
Man, that's awesome. In a world where nothing's free, it's free. Scion VR says, I must have sensed that you were going to be talking about Riven because I randomly checked YouTube. That's all right. And we would have said you would have waited a little bit longer, we would have been saying your name, and then you would have really appeared.
Yeah. I had an idea that Scion might show up. He typically does whenever we talk about Into the Radius or one of the Scion games. Scion always shows up. So welcome, Scion. Thanks for the donations, by the way. Scion giving his periodic donations to PayPal this past week. So
yeah, that's
appreciate
awesome.
it, bro.
Yeah, we appreciate you. One of the original OGs, right, of the channel.
That's right. Yeah, one of the oldest patrons who never actually joined the Patreon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, no, I'm excited for this, Roots. It looks very well produced. Coming to all platforms. I am a bit interested in seeing what that's going to mean. Does that mean that the Steam version was kind of the base and they worked backwards from there to Quest? Or are they developing an all new Quest version and they're trying to work up from that? Will it release on the same date for all platforms? These are the questions, Roots, and we won't know until we get more information.
What the cost is going to be as well. We don't really know,
That's
right?
True. So we do not know. I don't imagine it'll be too much. Probably $30 or less would be my guess. Yeah.
Yeah, $20-$30. I'd say 20 would be what I would prefer, but 20's the new 30's the new 20, right? Isn't that what they say?
That's right. Yeah, $20 is not a lot in 2024. I wouldn't imagine to see very many more $20 new releases in VR going forward.
Yeah, me neither.
Unless it's something that's just like super indie and short
or trash.
This being a full or trash. This being a full-fledged flat game, though, I'd say, if we see it for less than 30, I'd be surprised.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. I love the fact that this article is like, don't expect to get it for free or to be a free upgrade. Like why would anybody expect it to be free anyway? Like these people that they completely redid the game for VR. Like they need to get paid for it.
True that.
That's just
if
my
you don't want to
opinion.
pay for it, go play the mod.
Yeah, exactly. You can go. The mod's still out there. So, and that also tells me that they believe that this is going to be better than the mod. Yeah, you can go play the mod, but you're not going to want to play the mod. You're going to want to play the actual game that was developed for VR. So,
Speaking of which, old Darth in the chat says he had a busy weekend, put together a new PC, got it working about an hour ago. Ryzen 7600, 32 gigabytes of RAM, and a 7600 XT, ready for PSVR 2 on PC. So he did an all AMD build, Roots. That's interesting.
yeah, he's actually corrected himself. It's 7800 XT. So, not a 7600. He's not slumming it with 7600. I don't even know what that is.
That's a legit graphics card. No, it's a legit graphics card. That is, it's I could be wrong, but that's about the equivalent of a 3090.
Nice.
If I'm thinking correctly. Yeah.
Well, he says he's chomping at the bit to try some of the UEVR mods. You're gonna love it. I recommend Hot Wheels Unleashed. If you get a chance, Weird West. We're gonna be talking about this week. Wes is gonna try that for the first time, and MASH, and I think it's amazing, and I can't wait to get back into it. And it just has so much depth, so cool. The story, it's so cool. I got to be Santa Claus. I'll let you discover that achievement, Wes, in the game. That was pretty cool.
I can't wait to be Santa Claus. I don't know. Sounds cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is pretty awesome. I hope people support it when it comes out. Go and buy it, even if you have already played through it with the mod, because studios that do stuff like this deserve to be compensated for it. So,
yeah, 100%.
Definitely more to come on Hellsinger VR as we make our way through 2024.
It's been a long time since I've attempted to persuade anyone of my intentions. Most of the people here have already made their minds up about me one way or another.
Riven returns in 2024 with updated visuals, new puzzles, and VR support. A remake of the sequel to Myst is being rebuilt from scratch using Unreal Engine 5. This by Jason Finelli at GameSpot. In 1993, Cyan Worlds released Myst, one of the most influential puzzle games ever made, and followed it up with Riven a few years later. Following Myst's remake treatment in 2020 and 2021, the team has announced that Riven will make its way back to consoles, PC, and VR platforms later this year. The Riven remake is built from the ground up in Unreal Engine 5 by the game's original development team. Along with graphical updates and reworked gameplay, Riven will include extra puzzles, an expanded 3D world that can be fully explored, and updated storylines that expand on the narrative of the original release. This Riven revision was originally called Riven New Discoveries from the Lost Denis Empire when it was first announced in November 2022. The name has been changed to simply Riven, but the team has confirmed that this is in fact the same project and not a new endeavor. Riven first launched in 1997 and continued the story of Atris, a man searching for his wife through books that link to different worlds. Riven took players to the crumbling Denis Empire, where they explored and solved environmental puzzles in a vast point-and-click adventure in an effort to help Atris in his quest. Riven is scheduled to launch later this year on flat screen and VR platforms. No specific consoles were announced in the official release. So here we are again, Roots, with Cyan doing what they've done for the better part of the last 5 years and just supporting VR like it's any other platform. they're going to do a new game. They're going to do it for PC. They're going to do it for consoles, and they're going to do it for VR. I think that this is awesome. And not only is that awesome, but we're getting something a little bit different this time around than we got with Myst, which was a purely visual upgrade. Riven isn't just that. They're putting new assets in it. They're putting new storyline. They're expanding the game out with new puzzles. This is like more akin to like
It's a remake.
a Resident Evil. Yeah, it's a remake, like a Resident Evil remake. A whole new version of the game for fans and noobs alike. I think
Yeah.
it's super cool.
I think it's super cool too, and I get excited the fact that I'm seeing that they're also still putting it on PC. You know, I want in VR as well, like you were saying, on all the platforms that they included it in all of them, and it's kind of what we want to see. We want to see VR as just another platform. You know, put it on every platform, include VR, yeah. I hope it's a. What was that last one that came out that wasn't as well received? The Cyan game. I can't remember what the most recent.
You're
one.
talking about Firmament?
Yeah.
Firmament's it's okay, man. It's pretty good. Definitely one of the better puzzle games that came out last year. I just think that the expectation for it was so high that it didn't quite reach most people's expectation. But it was a really good game.
Yeah. Well, and this one's seems to be even better. Like you said, it's the fact that they're remaking it and they have the old fans in mind, not only to give them another version of the same game. They want to change it, make it better. I mean, it's been 27 years. Why not? So.
Lozic says it's free with the bundle. That's true. There's a humble bundle right now that includes Firmament and another banger game for like $18.
Nice. Well, I'll tell you what. 7th guest for me put the bar up for puzzle games. That's kind of what I want my puzzle games to be like. I need to get back to that game. And finish it because I really enjoyed my time in there that I did play. And I'm trying to make more of an effort to actually play it. Like if I really enjoy a game, instead of saying, I'm going to move on to the next one, I'm going to try to put more time in that game. Like Max Mustard I've been doing, and because there are good VR games out there. It's just, I don't want to play the bad ones and I'm not. So it's just awesome.
Let's see here. I had a comment, then I lost it. Chrome Colossus. I finished Myst, but never finished Riven, so I'm interested in this. Yeah, me too. Like I played Myst back in the day, and I never did play Riven. I remember being aware of it. I remember looking at it in like gaming magazines and stuff back then, and just thinking, "Man, this looks so beautiful." I really want to play it, but I never played it. I was more of a console gamer back then, and these were PC games. So I never actually got Riven and played it. This next time that I'm playing it will be the first time I've ever played it.
I've never played it either. And just listening to you describe the premise sounds super cool, right? A bunch of books, portals to different worlds and stuff. And I think it's going to be cool. So.
Yeah, I think so as well. Someone's asking if we know of any point and click games in VR. And there are point and click games in VR. I'm trying to think of some good ones. I have one in mind. I can't remember what it's called.
What's the context for it? Just because they want to play them, or they need something that's a little bit easier?
They like point and click games, apparently. Colossal Cave, thank you, Looper. That's exactly the one I was thinking about. Colossal Cave VR is a good point and click game, and it's structured like the old ones were, which is kind of a lot of the reason why I liked it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Waleed is now a game cat, specifically a white tiger with the $2 Canadian. My current VR2 playlist: Pavlov, Resident Evil 4, Hubris, Vertigo 2. It's a pretty solid playlist there, brother. Thanks for the donation.
That's a very big, very good playlist. And Scion says Riven is harder than Mist, but more rewarding and cooler story. Well, you stole me there.
That's
Mist was cool, but it was like, I don't know. I at least for me, and just playing it through in the VR, because that was the only time I've ever played it, I just didn't really know what was going on for most of the story, and maybe I just needed to stop and read a little bit more. But it was cool.
that's it. There's a lot of reading and Mist up front, and that's you probably didn't take the time to get all that background info.
I guarantee I didn't. You're right.
But no, that sounds awesome, Scion. Like, which I found Mist to be quite challenging back in the day. And even again, when I played through the remake, like I remembered certain clues about some of these puzzles, but there were others that I was completely blanked on, and I had to rework it all again. So Mist was pretty moderately difficult. If you're saying Riven's more difficult, and it's getting new puzzles, I mean that should be quite challenging, and I look forward to that.
Red Matter was tough for me. I can imagine Riven and Mist were super tough. Older games are brutal. Yeah, for sure. For me, Red Matter, at least the first one, I didn't find was too tough. But it just depends. I'm more like practical puzzle type of person. If it makes sense in real life, I get it really quick. If it's some weird fucking bullshit, like you gotta walk around and find pieces all over the place, like at that point that might be a bit much for me.
Red Matter, I liked Red Matter, both of them. I felt for the most part, it was a pretty good exercise in logic and thinking. Most of the stuff I made it through fairly easily, but
Couple.
there were a few points I got stuck, and that's typically what I like. I like for something to make me think and use my brain, but I don't want to spend an hour just breaking my skull into trying to figure something out.
Right.
So
and Mash said it good on the show the other day, is that you're in VR, there's a lot more pressure. You sitting there looking at a screen for 20 minutes thinking about something, it's not that big a deal. But when you're in VR, you just feel a lot more pressure to get something done, right? So
right. My controllers are running out, bro. My battery on my Quest is running out.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, I think this is awesome. And like they said, they announced this back in 2022. They've probably been working on it even longer than that. So I expect a legit AAA puzzle game to be coming to VR later this year. I just hope it isn't all Questified. And I would be surprised if it were, because even like Myst, which they developed first for Quest and then brought it over to other platforms, eventually they upgraded the visuals on the other platforms. So I don't think that they're going to want to work backwards like that again. I think that they'll start with the full-fledged version, especially since they're launching it flat as well. So I think that they'll start with the more powerful platforms, and then fit that into Quest. And who knows, by the time this thing comes out, it may not support Quest 2, right? It may just be a Quest 3 and Quest 3 Lite. And then maybe it doesn't even see that much of a downgrade,
Yeah. I was talking to a guy today at the store, and D and I were talking to him about VR, and he was the guy checking us out, and he said, "Oh yeah, I got a headset. No, I just got the Quest 2," and he was all you actually brought up Walkabout Mini Golf and a couple other games, and I didn't have the heart to tell him your headset might be obsolete, bro. It's on the way out, dude. Get your new headset, because he was like, "I'm happy with the 2." Like, yeah, you're not gonna be.
That's good.
Yeah, it was cool.
Here's the thing: people are getting those for cheap, and it's a good entry point for people, man. Like for the price you can pick those up now. You can get them for $150 new. $150 new right now. So for the what people are paying for those who are new to VR, there's plenty enough stuff in there to like amaze people and hook them. And then next year when the Quest 3 Lite comes out for $300, that'll be a logical step up for them.
Right. And I'm pretty sure the Quest 2 controllers will probably work with it, right? Because the Quest 3 we haven't verified, but it probably will be controllerless. And
man, I hope not. That'd be the dumbest thing they ever did if they do that. But
yeah. Or maybe that'll be an option.
But if
yeah.
Or if they bring Quest 2 controllers along with it, then okay, sure, that's fine, I suppose. But I mean, I imagine this thing's going to have Fresnel lenses in it. It's going to have more of a form factor of the old Quest.
I don't like that.
I mean that I don't. Well,
I would rather have a Quest 2 processor, everything the same, with the lenses, you know what I mean, with less power for me personally, than having the power with shit lenses. Those lenses are like 50% for me why I think the headset's better, and you're just nixing that 50% off.
Or you could get both. It's called Quest 3.
Yeah, that's true. I guess it is options. I'm looking at it as an all or nothing type of thing. I don't know, man. I don't like Fresnel lenses. The only thing that I would like about them is the potential for OLED, right? And that's it. Like, because you can't get that with the Pancake, so at least not real OLED.
I think what Quest 3's Lite is going to be, it's going to be a Quest 2 with the Quest 3 power behind it and full color pass through and MR. So it's going to be like a Quest 2 that can do MR and play all the Quest 3 games. Is what I think it's going to be.
All right, I'm sold. I don't know. No, I'm definitely not. I'm definitely not picking it up.
$300. I mean,
that's not bad.
Of course, you're not going to pick it up. You're going to get a Quest 3, but like for all of those people that didn't get a Quest 3 because it's fucking $600 or whatever, those people I feel like are going to come in droves for this thing.
Yeah, my next headset hopefully will be a Valve headset. If they came out with a Quest 3 version that was the Quest Pro form, I might consider it. Like, I really like the way the Quest Pro is. I like having that open. Like, I really like it. I've grown accustomed to it. I can't imagine going back to the fucking goggles. You know what I mean? Where I just don't like that feeling. And not having the something at the bottom of my eyes and closing it, really, it feels good. It feels it like takes maybe 20% of that friction away from me. So,
well, the Quest 3 is kind of an in between. It doesn't exactly fit like a Quest 2 does. It's kind of in between what Pro does and what Quest 2 does. Like it's a full facial interface, but the way it sits on your face is different. Like, yeah, even with like the jock strap, it doesn't really put a lot of pressure on your face anymore, which is pretty cool. And I think that there are solutions out there to wear it like you would wear the Pro. Take the interface off and have like something on, just on the forehead to kind of hang it down in front of your face.
I think that's what Looper.
I'm not sure.
Looper was just saying you can remove the Quest 3 face gasket with a Bobo head strap. So maybe there is ways to do it. You know, because there are things that I mean, really outside of, there's two things. Well, there's actually several things that I like about the Pro. You're taking the controllers out of the thing. It does have face and eye tracking, which right now I don't use, but it could be. And then the QLED, the colors, and then the VRAM, or not VRAM, I guess or is it just RAM in general rather? That extra 6 gigs of RAM, I'm sure helps for some things. So, but other than that, yeah, I still don't think that most people are using now that the honeymoon phase is over. I think most people probably aren't using mixed reality for most of what they do in VR because it's just not there. They might go in a couple of those experiences and check them back out, but like there's no 95% of what mixed reality is there for is just kind of it's gimmick. It's not that it's not going to be better. It's just still gimmicky, right? At least in my mind.
It's pretty cool. I think I would use it more if I use Quest more. Like Quest is literally third place out of my platforms that I play on. Like I play PSVR first, then I play PCVR, and then occasionally I'll get into Quest. But there's some cool stuff going on with MR that I'm curious about. I'm just never in there fucking around. You know what I mean? Like
True.
for example, they just updated Angry Birds for MR, so now you can put the puzzles on your coffee table or whatever and play. I think that's pretty cool. I just, or Demio we've talked about at length. I've got that Lego Bricktails game. I put it in our library when it came out. Still haven't tried it out yet.
I've heard that one's one of the
and I
best ones.
Yeah. Maybe we go back and give that one a look at some point. But Scion says that that he finds his Quest 3 uncomfortable and that he has a Kiwi strap. Now, I haven't tried the Kiwi strap, so I can't really speak to that. I will point out that this is Scion's first Quest, so he hasn't experienced Quest 1 or Quest 2 to know the pain of having that thing dig into your face. Scion, I would highly recommend, and I don't even know if they're out yet, but they will be, VR cover facial interface. For the previous versions of Quest, the head strap alone was not enough to make it comfortable. What you have to do is get one of those pillowy facial interfaces to make it feel nice and comfy. I'm sure someone in the chat will let you know if that product has been released yet. I'd be surprised if it hadn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he said he would have got a big screen beyond if he could go back. Dude, you haven't had it that long. It should still be within the return window, I would imagine. Right? I guess I had Quest 3 that long.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, but he also gets the contacts or the prescription lenses and stuff. So
Right.
he probably may feel pigeonholed because of that. But if like we've said, I have personally thought about big screen beyond myself. If it wasn't for the base stations and the fact that Valve is potentially around the corner with delivering what they have, I'd consider it. But I kind of think $1,000 plus base stations plus controllers is too much for me. That's just too much.
Agreed. And especially when before the end of the year, PlayStation VR 2 is going to work on PC, and I mean it's not pancake lenses, but it is a fucking nice OLED panel,
right?
That has good inside out tracking on it.
It's
so
DisplayPort. That's my biggest thing. I want a real VR headset that like Wes has with a G2 that plugs into my DisplayPort, and I don't have to charge it, and it looks amazing, and there's no compromise. Like we have so many things that we don't want compressed, whether it be my camera. For this camera, I go out of my way to make sure that's not compressed, but it's okay if it's the Quest, because it's Quest, and it's better than it was. And I just really want to grab somebody and shake them, and somebody that works at one of these companies, and be like, what the fuck are you doing? Get the DisplayPort on there now. Chop.
Yeah, so. Exactly. And it runs at 120 hertz, which I read a study this week. They did a study in China of motion sickness, and they put people in at 60 hertz, at 72 hertz, at 90, 120, and 180, and found out where the threshold was for like the biggest kind of reduction in motion sickness correlated to frame rate. Guess where the threshold's at, Ruuts?
120.
120.
120. Well,
120 hertz.
You know what? I guess what it's not at. 60 reprojected 120. 120. Right. It needs to be 120, not 60 reprojected. Can you imagine if? And I guess they kind of did this with AWS. But if companies were going around and they were like, we're gonna do 45, 90. Like we're gonna fucking do this. Like no, I want 90. I think the 60 120 reprojection is it. I don't want to say it's a cop out because some developers can make it work, but most can't, and not properly. And I just, going in that same thing
Well,
we were
it's a
talking about.
crapshoot.
Well, it's a
It's
crapshoot,
a
but if it
yeah.
makes somebody sick,
Sometimes it's good. Yeah, sometimes it's fine, and other times it's not. Um, I think that there's. I don't think that it's just the reprojection itself that's the cause of the problem. I think there's other things that go with that compound it sometimes.
yeah, I agree. I don't know, whatever makes it look weird when I turn my head like this, whatever the reasons behind it, I don't care what they are. Just solve it. I just feel like if they would, instead of trying to focus on hitting that 60 120, if they just tried to focus on 120, and I get it, like sometimes they're just not able to. But if you can, and if we can get the technology, you just said, according to that study, that's going to be less likely to get sick. And we've know that a steady 90 is less likely for people to get sick than most 60, 120 reprojection. So I just would love to see it disappear 100% and either go 120, 90 native, 120 native. No tricks. The tricks should be like for very, very like AWS used to be. You'd hit a little fucking spot that was like really intense and it would buffer for a second. They would go to 45, make it seem like 90, and you would never notice. Now they've just made it the whole time. That's what it is. And I think that's the problem.
So Philosic says not many people can get 120 frames though, and EV Man versus Gas says all you need is a 4090. True, but you all you're underestimating just how quickly these generations turn over and how big the leap are. The leaps are from generation to generation. Yeah, most games can't run at 120 FPS right now, but I assure you, in 2 years, it's not going to be so strange anymore. Like that, it's going to be a pretty normal thing. So that's the main thing that has me excited about it. Is I think 120 FPS VR is going to be the norm pretty quickly, 2 to 3 years.
I agree. And my point,
Looper says,
okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say my point is just then I just don't want to see 60 120. If they can't do 120 and you can't do 60 120, then do 90. Don't do 60 120 and have it be fucking, when I turn my head, it stutters a bit, even if it's just minimal and MASH doesn't think it's a big deal. To me, it is. I don't want to see anything that breaks my immersion when it comes to that. Again, in real life, I don't see stuttering and ghosting when I turn my head. That's why I had such a big problem with Luke Ross to some extent and would turn off the AER completely because I don't want to see that. I want to see crystal clear image, even if it's at the some 3D just gone. And I'm the same way with reprojection. So.
Yeah, I'm not. I am sometimes, but sometimes I'm not. It just depends on the game. Like, I'll take a little bit of reprojection if it means that the world and the environments that I'm in are super detailed. Because most of the time I don't notice it anyway. But then there's other games where it's so egregious that it's too much, and do whatever you have to do to get that shit out of there. It just depends on the game. I'd like to see more options, like Alvo did the option, right? You can run 90 native, you can run 120 interpolation, just whichever one you want.
That's it. Yeah. Give me the option, and then that way, kind of like I do with the Luke Ross mod. Because if we go into that Horizon Forbidden West, I've got a 4090, and it's not going to make performance run better, but I almost guarantee I'm going to turn that AER off because I like the way it looks better. It immerses me more than because there's a little bit of ghosting on the characters, and at least there was in the past. Maybe it won't be the case, but I don't like it. So.
Looper says, isn't 45 to 90 standard practice for standalone? No. It was standard practice on PSVR 1. Like most games use that on PSVR 1. It is used, on standalone, but most of these games run at 72 hertz on standalone. They just run at 72 native. The ones that are 90, some of them are running natively at 90, other ones are running reprojected, but it is a different thing on Meta because for whatever reason, Meta's reprojection is almost indiscernible. It's not the same as PlayStation. It's not the same as Steam. When you're in a game like Asgard's Wrath 2, you don't see reprojection, even though they are using it. So they've cracked the code. Like they know how to do it without ghosting, and I
Right.
think that's fine. Um,
Yeah, as long as you
but
can't tell, then that's the difference, right? Because there's all sorts of
right,
technologies that trick things and fixes, and for a long time we were dealing with it, especially with Meta, and we didn't know. Um, but it's getting better, and this is all nitpicky stuff. But that's mostly how I feel in a lot of those ways. But I think it's getting better. So Radio Runt says dot. I don't know what he was trying to say, but I say dot back to you,
Don't
Radio Runt. I also say
Don't close your
throw a homage out there to Radio Runt.
don't close your eyes.
uh,
Jason Westman says, once I got 90 hertz going on my 3080 Ti, my motion sickness got reduced drastically. Interestingly, the 60 FPS reprojected does not affect me. See, that's my point. Everybody's different with it. Like
true.
some people are more sensitive to it. Other people don't even notice it. Some people can't walk a half a step without noticing it. So I just think it would be good for there to be more options in there. I do recognize that some studios and some games have to use that to be able to get a stable enough to release. But those cases are becoming fewer and fewer over time. We're seeing, notably the Unity SDK got updated this past week and made it a lot easier for developers to use the dynamic foveated rendering, which in turn is allowing them now to run at 90 hertz native when before they weren't able to. And we're going to continue to see Unity and Unreal get updated on the regular and make these stable frame rates more and more feasible for these studios.
Do you know Zuck has bought, I think, from NVIDIA, like 140,000 or 200,000 of those AI super cards that NVIDIA puts out, the 40,000 cards for their AI and stuff. So, like, I think, again, I feel like we're, like, right on the edge of so many things changing just because the AI is going to say, hey, you dummies, like, you just need to fucking change this. And then we tweak a little bit, and all of a sudden everything's perfect. So
Yeah.
I think what you were saying earlier, we're so close to everything changing.
Yeah, when Meta finally steps over the threshold that they're working toward, VR is just going to be so amazing that it's going to be undeniable. Like, and they're close. Like they're doing it right now with supercomputers. They've just got to optimize it to the point so that, as the graphics cards and CPUs continue to advance and the AI continues to advance, they're also optimizing on their end so that hopefully sometime in the next 5 years or so, they finally cross that uncanny valley threshold and everything gets super real overnight. The next Quest Pro 2 Roots is going to have Kodak avatars in it.
Really?
Yeah, now it's going to be the Gen 1 Kodak avatar, which is pretty amazing compared to what most VR headsets are doing today. But it isn't the one that we saw Zuck do the interview with a few months ago. That was Kodak Avatar version 2. And version 2 right now runs on a workstation that has 4 4090s in it.
Jesus. Do you think
yeah.
Zuck's got to have like a holodeck or something, man? You know what I mean? Like if you're at the head of that company, you're like, okay, whatever we're building for everybody else, we're building this for me to check as a prototype. You know what I mean? Like, just to
Yeah,
see.
prototype, right?
Yeah, prototype. I just think that would be cool. And yeah, that's super cool. Crazy.
Okay, I'm getting in late on conversations that I shouldn't be in. Why don't we get this thing back on the rail and start talking about VR games again? Roots, what do you say?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
In local news, the remaining belongings in the Hale family estate were finally auctioned. Among the auction items were paintings by, as well as some gold and diamond. Most noteworthy was Miss Hale's precious instant camera, which has finally found a new owner. Which has finally found a new owner. Which has finally found a new owner. Which has finally found a new owner.
Hi there, this is Alexis Di Stefano, creator of MADiSON and founder of Lotus Games. As you may know, last year we teamed up with Perp Games to release MADiSON on consoles, both in digital and physical, and we can't be happier with all the love and all the support we received from all of you since day one. So thank you so much for that. For some of you, MADiSON was the scariest gaming experience of last year, which is completely amazing. But now, we are ready to move forward and take it to a whole new level, making it even scarier. Since release, we have been working on some exciting things I wish I could reveal. But today, I'm here to announce that MADiSON will be coming to the next generation of the PlayStation VR headsets, the PlayStation VR 2. So get ready to experience the game like never before and face your fears in virtual reality. Stay tuned for more updates.
The evolution of Perp Games. Why MADiSON VR's latest delay is good news for PSVR 2. This by some hack named Wes Dillon at XR Update. It seems to have been a rough few months for Perp Games. At the very least, there must have been some moments of high stress, as PSVR 2's most active publishing company has worked tirelessly to put a proper exclamation point on a run that has delivered a number of high-profile ports to Sony's platform. Over the course of PSVR 2's short history, no one has been busier, as the studio has announced title after title, with every announcement bringing gamers to a whole new level of hype, anticipation, and enthusiasm. But over the last few months, Perp has been forced to make some difficult decisions. And as we move further into PSVR 2's second year, some of the anticipation is turning to doubt. At the end of summer 2023 was a somewhat turbulent time for PSVR 2 gamers. Mass confusion had begun to set in as Sony's next-gen VR platform seemed to experience a bit of a drought, directly after putting forth the most content-rich launch window that any VR platform has ever seen. It was during this time that we first started to hear PSVR gamers ask, "Where are the games?" Perp would quickly answer the call by announcing 2 high-profile titles for October: critically acclaimed PCVR hit Vertigo 2 and scientifically proven scariest game of all time, MADiSON VR. As October arrived, PSVR gamers were ready to go. The somewhat short-lived drought had allowed their collective bank accounts to grow along with their anticipation. However, as the days grew shorter, Perp became quieter. And before we knew it, October had passed. The following months were marred by delays to both titles, with each passing release date only leading to the next. It wouldn't be until 2024 that the first of these two titles would finally launch for PSVR 2, with Vertigo 2 releasing on January 15th. The wait was over. In the days that followed, the reviews began to pour in, and they echoed a shocking consensus. The game had launched too soon. Instead of receiving the definitive version of this instant classic, Perp had delivered a game with obvious bugs and performance issues. The studio appeared to have chosen to release an unfinished port rather than face the disappointment that would have resulted from another delay. While later updates would correct the majority of the issues, the community's trust in Perp games had been shaken. In the days that followed, Perp would work day and night to correct their obvious mistake, while PSVR 2 gamers shifted their focus to the next big date, February 20th. The waking nightmare that is MADiSON VR was just right around the corner. Or was it? After all, it was already months late, having been delayed much like Vertigo 2 before it. As the date approached, an all too familiar silence began to set in, and everyone knew what it meant. Sure enough, just days before the game was set to drop, it was delayed by a month. Within a couple of weeks, it would be delayed again, albeit only slightly this time, pushed to March 29th. That brings us to this past Thursday, when Perp Games announced that MADiSON VR has been delayed yet again. I must admit, though, this one came as a bit of a surprise, as a few trusted reviewers like Gamertag VR have already positioned this game as one of the best releases of the year. Nonetheless, Perp has chosen to delay once more, citing changes to the Unity SDK that will now allow for the implementation of dynamic foveated rendering. The expectation is that this will enable the game to render natively at 90 Hz, as opposed to the 60-120 interpolation mode that many PSVR 2 titles employ to varying degrees of success. So here we are. March 29th has arrived, and it seems that we have found ourselves in an all too familiar situation. As I write this, we do not know when MADiSON VR will launch. We're told that this will take a few weeks, but we haven't been given a date. With that said, my confidence in the quality of this title has never been higher. While many people may view this latest delay as just more of the same, I see something completely different. I see a Perp Games that has learned from its mistakes. I see a Perp Games that no longer sets dates it isn't 100% sure it can meet. I see unprecedented transparency with a detailed technical explanation for the delay. I see a studio willing to take the more difficult path, opting to deliver the best game possible at the cost of short-term ridicule and discontent. As PSVR 2 reaches a critical juncture in its very brief history, I see a platform that needs more studios like Perp Games. So yeah, Roots, we got what has to be the 5th or 6th delay to MADiSON this past week. But this one isn't quite like the other delays, right? Because we've already seen reviewers with this game say that it's amazing, that it's great, that's going to scare the fuck out of everybody and everybody's going to love it. But Perp delayed it anyway, knowing they were going to take shit for it, because they've learned that they should put their best effort forward, and changes that hit Unity this week are going to allow them to use dynamic foveated rendering and 90 Hertz. And that was just too much for them to pass up. So I think that people should, they should applaud them for this. People shouldn't be giving them shit at all. We need more studios to do stuff like this when they have the opportunity.
I guarantee it's not just 90 Hertz either. Like, it's foveated rendering. It's going to look so much more amazing, so much sharper. It's what you want. It's what we all want, right? So I think you're right in this article. They've learned from their mistakes in the past, and I wish more developers would learn from their mistakes. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're going to delay and then still release the game like shit, don't delay. Just put it out. but they're clearly not doing that. You know what I mean? They've been fine tuning it, and this is such a game changer of a thing that they can add to their game. They're not just adding a little bit of lighting or whatever. They're using one of the biggest advantages of that headset, and waiting a couple weeks to do that to me is a no-brainer. And so instead, they'll take shit for now from a couple of short-sighted articles from lesser places than XR Update, because your article is amazing. And they'll take a little bit of shit for that for the next couple weeks, and then the game will release and it'll be fucking amazing, and they'll be so glad they waited, and we will be so glad they waited. So I think it's a win-win.
Yeah, right. A delayed game eventually launches. A game launched too early is bad forever, or something like that, the saying goes.
Yeah.
So you're right. People are going to forget all about this when they get the game, and it knocks their socks off. I've seen it reported a few places, Roots, that that dynamic foveated rendering has now been added to Unity. That's not exactly true. Like, Unity devs have always been able to use dynamic foveated rendering. We know this because we've heard other Unity devs say that it's taken them an extra 3 months to bring DFR in because they had to update to the latest version of Unity to do it, and that's not an easy thing to do. So that's not true. That's fake news. But what has happened with this latest Unity SDK, and you get this directly from the statement that Perp made, they've cleared up a conflict that the previous version of Unity had, where they're using another feature that clashes with DFR, and you couldn't use them both together. And what it is a technique called single pass rendering. And single pass rendering is a CPU intensive process, and dynamic foveated rendering actually uses a little bit of extra compute, a little bit of extra CPU. It's a trade-off. You're using a little CPU to get back big gains in GPU. But for whatever reason, using the single pass rendering with the dynamic foveated rendering before was such a performance hit that it put them over the line. Like, they weren't able to use them together. But this latest version of Unity corrected that conflict. So now that these two things can be used simultaneously, they're going to be able to hit 90 hertz native. And again, it was a brave choice. By all accounts, the 60 to 120 reprojected in this game left minimal artifacts. Like, people said the game looked great, and that they could barely tell that it was being reprojected. But they still decided to delay anyway and make it the best that it can be anyway. And that's why I think it was such a brave and courageous decision from them, and absolutely the right call.
Yeah, 100%. And I hope more devs are like that. And we said before, there's many reasons why they can't do that. But if you can, and it's going to make a difference, why not? Why not wait? Who cares what people say before the game comes out? It only matters what they say after. Like, if your game's good, it's going to be good, and people are going to play it. Word of mouth's going to get out there. And if it plays like jank on day one, word's going to get out, and you're going to lose people that may never come back.
So TB in the chat has a few comments. First of all, he said, Unity has had DFR. Devs haven't been truthful. No, devs never said that it didn't. It's just certain content creators and people in the space have misunderstood what the devs meant and have conveyed it improperly to people. He also says DFR at 90 FPS is the update. DFR... the 90 FPS is the product of the update. The being able to use DFR with single pass is the update. There was a conflict before. The conflict's been resolved. And he asked, it's for their lighting technique, right? It's related. The reason why MADiSON is so immersive in VR is because they use real time lighting and shadows, um, which is not super common in VR games. And it's a very effective way to drive immersion through the roof, especially in a dark game like this. Um, but a lot, it's pretty intensive on both CPU and GPU to have that in a VR game. That's why not many of them use it. Um, but that's why it's things like that that make that make optimizations like DFR necessary, right?
Right.
So they've got a game that's heavy in lighting, that uses the single pass rendering, which is high in compute. All of this stuff that's basically got them running at the threshold of what the hardware can do. Now DFR can bring it down a little bit now so that they can get the frame rate up. But before this conflict was resolved, that wasn't possible. So basically, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, how crazy is it that like, this is just my personal belief, but this is why I say how cool God is like all the delays that led to this. Like they wouldn't have even been possible to get foveated rendering in the game if they had released, or even so many delays. Like everything happened to where they were put in a position where they could make this choice, which I think is going to be a big one to add this.
Yeah.
And I just think that's so cool because all the hard work you put into this game and you want to put out this amazing game and you already had it set and you thought, okay, we're going to put out a really good game. And then this thing comes out and you're going to be able to put an amazing game out instead. And I just think it's cool. And I think it's just super smart on their end, for 100%.
Well, they understand that they can't blow it here. They blew it with Vertigo 2's launch, and the way they launched that back in January. Like, they lost a lot of goodwill from the consumer base by putting that out the way that they did. They should have held on to it for another month until they had it right, but they chose not to. They chose to put it out instead of delaying again, and then they ate shit for it. So you're going to eat shit either way, right? Delay it, you're going to eat shit. Launch it, you're going to eat shit. But at least if you delay it and put it out the right way, eventually that's all going to go away and people are going to sing your praises.
And it's all about
now
selling
they
the
seem
game.
to have,
You know,
right.
at the end of the day, you want to
They-
sell copies. So
Right. Jason Westmith says figures moving into and out of dynamic lighting is very engaging and scary when done right. Agreed, and I think that's what they're going to be doing here with this.
well, we take for granted that we go into these VR environments and that our minds aren't sophisticated to know on some level, even a subconscious level, that the lighting doesn't feel real. And so like part of us in the back of our mind is probably not 100% engaged. And then you get in there and you start to see light doing, it's the same thing that happens in flat games. And we're just now at the point where that's just a common thing. And it really does add to immersion because that's the way light works when it comes in a window and it bounces off the floor. And we see this our whole life. I'm 49 years old. So at some point, like my mind knows how light should look. And then you get into this environment and we don't see it, but we see it. You know what I mean? So I agree 100% with both what you were saying and what Jason Westmith was saying. I think it's a big deal, and I think it's super cool.
Yeah, can't wait to try this game out. If it takes another 6 months, it was supposed to come out in October. It's already late. Just don't put it out till it's done. This is why I always praise Blair Renaud for taking 4 years to bring Lo-Fi out.
Yes.
Like, he said he'll bring it when it's done. Now, on that note, he keeps making these comments about how he's about to run out of money. So, like, he might put it out anyway pretty soon just because he needs to eat. But it is what it is, I suppose.
Well, maybe he puts it out and then he gets, adds some updates. I'm sure he's not going to just drop it and done. So.
Well, I hope so. I hope, he's got this kind of idea in his head, where he's making it playable flat, and he's hopeful that the VR reviewers will put it over some kind of a threshold and and get it into the mind of flat gamers, and then maybe flat gamers will buy it and pick it up and check it out, and then he'll make some money from that. I hope he's right, but I don't know if it's going to work out the way that he's planning on it to work out.
Yeah. Well, hopefully.
Shapeshifter says this will be stunning with the OLED blacks. Yes, that's something that there is no question about. Like, PSVR 2 is the best place to play horror games. And speaking of which, Ruuts, gamers such as you and I aren't the only one that were kind of glad to hear about MADiSON's delay this past week.
Really?
George, where are you?
Promise me you won't get mad.
Do you know what can happen to you for being out there? Why did you go?
Mike is like a brother to me, you understand?
Okay, Tim. I'm sorry, it's just that this shit is overwhelming me.
Me too. I'm starting to believe that Mike isn't infected. It's something else.
George.
Please, you have to believe me. I know how it sounds, but something strange is happening here. I want to find Julia and get out of here. I think I can do it, Lexa. I have to.
You'll never be able to get out of here.
PlayStation.
OVRDARK came out this past Friday in lieu of MADiSON VR not hitting the PlayStation VR 2 store. OVRDARK did. This is a game from a studio called Nox Noctis, and this is a follow-up to last year's Do Not Open, which was a flat horror-themed puzzle game that was originally supposed to come to VR, but the type of puzzles that they put in that game just really would not have worked very well for VR. So rather than rework those puzzles, they just decided to do a whole new game and put a sequel out, and I'm glad they did. So we covered this game in a real-time review just the day before yesterday on Friday on Strangers in the Night. If you haven't checked that out yet, we played through about 90 minutes of the game live on during the podcast. So be sure to go back and give that a look. But Ruuts, after we wrapped that episode, I did something that I don't often do when we cover these games on Friday. I went back into it on Saturday and I finished the game. So I actually went in and beat it the next day.
Yeah, well, that's crazy because usually you don't do that because you're moving on to something else. Like you said, like I'd love to go back to these games. I don't have time. So that tells me that you really enjoyed this game, that you wanted to put a nail in it, finish it, and see what the story had to offer, right?
Yeah, and that's something that we've said many times on our channel is you can tell which games that we really like by which games do we finish, right? We don't often finish games. Not that this was the longest game in the world. It wasn't. It took me about 5 hours to play through it. But still, I went back to it, which I don't typically do. Typically, my time is so short that after we cover a game, I'm just on to the next. But I wanted to finish this one. I wanted to play more of it. And surprisingly, Ruuts, like when we went off the air, like I speedrun the first bit of it because I lost my save and I had to start over, and I knew all the puzzles and I knew where everything was. So while it was an hour and a half of gameplay on the air, in real time, that would have been 2 to 2.5 hours if I were just starting it up clean. It took me about 3 more hours to beat this game, Ruuts. Like I thought we were over halfway through it when we went off the air, but we were actually a little under halfway through it. There's a lot more game after we went off the air.
It was about 6 hours then, give or take, about what took you.
Right.
Yeah, because you're looking around and trying to figure stuff out, the puzzles. I mean, the second time you just blew through it because you knew it, but yeah,
Yeah, and I got to say, man, as much as I enjoyed the first half of the game, the second half of the game is notably better. Like it's the first half is good, but this game builds all the way through the end. The ending was kind of so-so. It wasn't the worst thing ever, but it certainly could have been done better. But getting there was a ride. And I just wanted to come back on today and talk a little bit more about it. No spoilers, don't worry, we're not going to spoil anything here. Because I was so impressed with it, man. Like I was expecting this to be about a 7 out of 10 game for me, and it's more like an 8.5. Like
really,
this is a really good indie game. If it were twice as long, it would be in the nines for me. Um, it is a little bit rough around the edges in terms of some of the voice acting, some of the scaling. There are small tells that you can tell that this is an indie game, but I find that adds to the charm of these type of games, especially a game like this. That the graphics are really good. They're really high detailed graphics. It feels like I'm playing a Resident Evil game, Roots. It feels like I'm playing a legitimate Resident Evil game a lot of the time.
well, let's be honest. The voice acting is a part of the game, and it's not even the most important part. The story, the actual gameplay, the puzzles, the way it looks and feels, all of those things are more important than the voice acting, in my opinion. Now, sometimes voice acting can be so bad. I've played some games where like I just couldn't stand the voice acting bad enough that I was just like, I can't do this.
Propagation?
But, yeah, well, the propagation it had its moments, but there's some that were just like really, really, really bad that I'm just like, no. And this clearly is not one of those. And I think the story's there, and I think the gameplay's there. And what you said, and Mash was saying the other night, that just like you said, you have those moments where you're like, wow, this is AAA level. And for an indie studio, that's amazing. And giving a seal of approval on a horror game like this is also a seal of approval as well. So
as good as the graphics are, and they are really good. What really shocked me going through the second half of the game was the sound design. The sound design in this game it's so good. And I'm not really talking about voice acting here, but I'm talking about the combination of the sounds from inside the game and the ambient noise and music that they use to drive tension in certain areas of the game. There was a part as I was kind of working my way to the last scene where I got stumped for a minute. Right, so right after I picked it back up, I solved the puzzles that we had just started on as we ended the stream. It like this crazy thing happens that I'm not going to spoil, but you end up in like a timed puzzle room, right? You have a time limit, or else you get killed and you die.
Damn.
A few tries with that, and I got through it, and then I found myself waking up in a new part of the mansion. And for those of you who don't know, this is an old school escape the mansion type horror game, right? There's evil shit in the house. You got to get out of the house. That's the premise here. So I end up waking up in this whole new part of the mansion that connects behind a locked door in a long hallway right into the main part of the house. But there's a nice little section of the mansion that you wake up in that would later lead on to the end of the game. But I kind of ended up getting stumped in this little area here. So I made my way back out to the main house and just started fumbling around through the rooms to see if I could stumble upon whatever the next thing I'm supposed to do is, because that was really the thing. It's like I didn't know what the next thing to do was. Anyway, after spending about 20 or 30 minutes just wandering aimlessly through what is a fairly sizable mansion, I decided, you know what, this is dumb. Like whatever I need is back in that area that I woke up in. I just missed it there. So I went back to this area, and when I went back to it, Roots, it had changed. And I don't want to talk about how it had changed, but there was something significant that had changed in it. Not that would change the game or anything, but change the environment. And it was a notable thing with the sound that changed. Something was happening on an audio level, and it was just uncomfortable as hell. Like it was scary. It was legit scary. And when I walked back in, and and this started happening, it occurred to me that's when it clicked what the next thing I should be doing is, because then I remembered something from before that I could do again here, and open up another way forward. So that meant backtracking back into the main house to grab something I'd already used and reusing it again. So I went back into the main house. I got the item that I needed. I came back into this room for the third time, and it changed again. And this time it was 10 times more intense than it was the second time in. And again, this was all audio. Like it wasn't anything visual. It was all audio, but it was fucking intimidating, and it was scary. And I don't get scared easy in these games, Roots. And when that happened, I legitimately was my pulse was up, and that's all a game needs to do. Like you'll get a good score from me if you can scare me, and this game scared me.
Well, it's supposed to be scary, right? Looper the Underground Game Cat says, "Oh, I love that change." And Mickey Bear doing what Mickey Bear does, dropping Mash's favorite key and Steam key in there, Garden of the Sea, which actually I think is somebody was saying that was actually one of their favorite games. It's actually a really good game from Animal Crossing fans. So appreciate that, Mickey Bear. I think it's awesome. That sounds awesome. Sounds amazing, Wes. That and creepy for sure.
Tiffany, my God, doing what she does with her $50 tip here. Thank you, Tiffany. You're awesome. She says, "Happy Easter. I can't stay, but I wanted to shout out to this amazing group of friends. Love meeting Wes and Michelle and others in person. Truly fantastic people."
I agree.
Thank you, Tiffany. Hanging out with you was definitely one of the highlights of the weekend. And like I said before, hopefully it won't be a whole year before we get a chance to do it again.
Well, that's coming from one of the most fantastic people I know, Tiffany. So that's a whole fantastic room of people. And Tiffany, and Wes, if we want to make that actually happen, everybody can come to Denver in July for the tournament. What's it called? The AL or the one that Alex and Skiva.
Oh, you mean in Denver?
Yeah, the one in Denver.
Yeah, I don't know what that's called. I remember them going to a thing in Denver, but I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, it's like a tournament for VR esports, and they're supposed to have like 7 of them this year. It's bigger than last year, and I was thinking it's a great way for everybody to travel, get together, and more importantly, be somewhere near me. Then I can go meet everybody. I'll meet everybody.
Roots doesn't have to leave home.
You come to Denver, man. I'm there. Fuck, man. I'll come help do the booths and everything. I don't give a shit. I just it'd be cool.
It's a VRML, says D.
Yeah, VRML. Yep.
So there you go. Thank you, Tiffany. That's awesome. I appreciate it so much. Looper asks, "Are you saying it was all audio the first time too? Because there was also a quite notable visual change for me." No, it wasn't all audio. Really either time, but the second time in the room, especially, there is a notable visual change too, and there is on the third one too, as that goes away and disappears the third time in the room. The visual part of it disappears and goes back away, and there's things laying on the ground. But it was an awesome thing. It was really unsettling. It was an awesome thing. And it's not just that. There are other things about the audio that really drive up the tension. That they use like a lot of discordant violin, you know, stringing, and just things that good horror movies do. They're doing in this game.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. Whatever works in good horror movies and good horror games flat, bring it into VR. So good job for MADiSON VR. Well, this isn't. I mean, OVRDARK VR.
It makes me wonder, Looper, how many people actually went into that room 3 times? Because if I had been thinking correctly, I would have recognized immediately what I needed to do, and I would have went straight from there to get the item and come back and solve that on the second try. And after by the way, after you solve this puzzle, the sound thing just stops cold immediately. So I think a lot of people are going to miss that third wave of it just because they're smarter than I am and figured the puzzle out faster.
Are you curious to know what would happen if you went 4 or 5 times? Like how intense could this get?
I thought about that actually. Yeah.
That would be crazy. I'd like to know if anybody does. Let us know in the chat or in the comments below.
It would take a second playthrough, and this is one of my only real complaints about the game, is that it doesn't handle saves the same way that Resident Evil does. You can save manually in a lot of spots in the mansion, but there are no multiple save slots, so it's always your most current save. So if I want to go back and replay any of these parts of the game, and there's a few that I would like to replay, I got to just play through the whole game all over again. And I don't know how soon I'll be doing that.
How crazy. Boognish says I got a good feeling for this game as soon as I was on the menu screen. Nice and creepy.
Yeah, and it's cool, man. It's got top-notch graphics and audio. It's got a sizable mansion for you to explore, and it's got moderate puzzles in it. Like most of the puzzles are just as easy as finding a key and finding the right door for it. But then again, there are a handful of others that are legitimate puzzles that you have to think about a little bit and work. There are optional things that you can find that unlock cutscenes that you wouldn't normally get. And that's what those things you were asking about, Roots. Remember the stuff you were going, what is that? What's that for? If you find all of these items, it unlocks cutscenes later in the game as you get toward the end.
Well, to me, like usually in games like that, and I kind of was poking light at it, there's no reason to get the collectibles outside of, for Wes, a completionist. They're there, and now I see that there's 3 of them. I need to get 3 of them. But how cool is it that you actually, there's a benefit? Like, you want to know more story? You want to have more cutscenes? You better look for these shit. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it is cool. And it's a completely optional. Like, I went to 2 completely different rooms off the map and worked 2 separate puzzles just to complete that and get those cutscenes. But they really did add to the story, which was good. During Brian's review, he said that there wasn't much to the story and he didn't really understand it. That says to me that he didn't read all of the stuff that he found laying around and think about it. And he probably didn't get both of the extra cutscenes because the story is quite clear to me. And I think it's a cool story. For a game like this.
I'm right there with Brian. I didn't play it yet, but I'm right there with him. I guarantee I'd be in the same boat. I don't read shit, and I'm not searching for. I would now, like I absolutely knowing what I know. I have to have those items because I want to know like everything in the. It's a cutscene, and if it's actually part of the story, like why would you want to miss that? So I wonder if there's a way to, when you've beaten the game, if there's a way to see those cutscenes without going through it. No. Okay.
No. As a matter of fact, the final, the way the game ends made me feel like it could be something that has multiple endings. and I went back and loaded my save again to try to play through the ending a second time, and I couldn't because of a bug. So like to finish the last sequence of this game, you have to find a tool, and you use that tool to gain another item that you need to open the last door and escape. Right. When you finish the game and you load that last save, it automatically starts you with that tool in your inventory, so you don't have to find it and go get it like you normally would. But when you use it, you take it out of your inventory and actually use it to get the other item that you need to open the door. That item isn't there anymore. So like you're literally stuck. You can't finish the game from your save anymore after you finish it once. So literally, I would have to start all over again.
I wonder
to test.
I wonder if they did that on purpose to make you go. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's on purpose, but I mean, it kind of forces you to play through it again, and you know what I mean. Assuming there are multiple endings, it would be kind of stupid to do that if there isn't. But
I'll probably play it again. It'll probably be like in October or something, like during spooky season. It's not something I want to go immediately and play through again, but when I was looking at the trophies, this is actually a fairly easy platinum to get. I feel like one more run through this thing and I could get the platinum trophy for it. And for record, I've never gotten any platinum trophy in any game ever. So this very well might end up being my first, because I think everything that's left. So to get the platinum, you just have to get all the other trophies. And all of the trophies that I didn't get were things that I feel like I could do, that were doable. So
you didn't get a Returnal platinum? I'm just kidding. That's a fucking hard one to get. Yeah, that's cool. I think somebody was asking. I lost what there was, but yeah, Philozic says just play through it again for more cutscenes. I think that is good. It's good replay value. You're gonna know more about the story apparently. So yeah, I think that's cool, and I think it's a good idea. Maybe you can stream it again somewhere down the road. For those interested.
So Looper says that the hardest trophy is the no death run. I think I could do a run with no deaths now that I'm aware where the dangers are. The only one of the trophies that concerns me is the one that says that you have to solve the final puzzle without making any mistakes. Do it on the first try. And the reason why I say that, it's not a hard thing to do, the puzzle itself, but I had issues with the way my hand is in game that was causing it to kind of move a little bit and hit things that I wasn't intending to hit. So it wasn't really my fault. And that's kind of the one concern I would have going for a platinum run on this, is like I go all the way through the game and get to this last puzzle and something happens that's not my fault and fuck my platinum run up. That would be pretty frustrating.
Well, couldn't you save it on that before the last puzzle and then like just quit the game?
Yeah, it actually auto saves right before there. So you're right. I could just well, here's the thing though. I mean, I guess, yeah, if it messes up, I could go to the menu screen before I died, and that would save my run, right?
Right. I'm back in.
Yeah, you're right. As long as you do it quickly and you don't die.
That's a lot of shit. That would be, I think people would be interested to watch on a stream Wes's no death run, and he's going to try to do that puzzle the first time. I think that would be very interesting to watch, and that would add one more level of pressure for Wes on top of everything else. That's like a stream I want to see.
Oh, and I'll tell you off the air too, Looper. Remind me to tell you, I found another kind of glitch that I'm not going to say on the air because I don't want them to fix it. But there's a way in that last scene that you can do something that makes it so that you can't die or that you won't die, no matter how long it takes you. Um, so I won't spoil it here, but if you remind me off the air, I'll tell you what to do, and you can protect yourself from getting killed during that last puzzle.
Oh God, this sounds creepy.
Yeah,
Yeah, crazy. Well, kudos for OVRDARK VR, putting out a good game, right? The devs, I mean.
Looper says no save run is a good one to make along with no death. I think I could do it all. I think I can get all the trophies that I'm lacking right now, in one run. If I do everything correctly.
That's true. A no save run would be perfect to do with a no death. You know,
Well, you don't need the saves. You don't need the saves if you don't die.
right? Right. If you're planning on not dying.
The only thing that might trip you up is that last puzzle. Like I said, if your fat fingers fuck it up in the game like it did for me, that would be frustrating.
Well, at least you get all the other achievements, and you just have to get that one again next time.
You have to do a whole new no save run
Oh, damn, that's crazy.
or no death or whatever. Anyway, I think this game is exceptional and definitely, like, I expected it to be good. It's definitely better than I even thought it was. And if it were a longer game, I would be praising this as one of the best in the VR library overall. But it already is one of the best on PSVR. And I highly recommend it to anyone who likes horror games. It's creepy as fuck, and the puzzles are good. The production values are very good, and there are some legitimately scary moments in it. So,
Yeah,
go
very,
check it out.
very few games scare Wes. So
Right. Like I like Propagation, for example. I thought it was a very good game, but I didn't get scared very much in that game. Like, there were a couple spots that got me, but for the most part, I didn't find it scary. This game had a few spots that were scary. Now there is the one thing Brian mentioned in his review, and he was absolutely true about that. The way that they used kind of the big bad in this game, the thing where you can't move your hands and head, they kind of overuse that. Like, there are sequences in the game, not like the ones that you saw when we streamed Roots, where you go into a room and the guy's in there and you have to stealth by him. That's not what I'm talking about. There were probably 3, 4, maybe even 5 sequences in the game where you walk into a hallway and the guy just is in the hallway, and you know he is because the music changes, the screen fades to black for like a half a second, and then all you have to do is just sit there for about 20 seconds until he just disappears. That, I mean, after they did that once, that was enough. Like, they didn't have to keep going back to that. It lost all of its scare factor the first time they did it. Every time after that, it was just like, really? I've got to sit here and look at this guy again for another 20 seconds. All right, and now he's gone. You know, if he chased you, like all the times he chased you were scary. But all the times he just happened to be in the hallway and you had to stare at him, not so much. So, yeah, they definitely went a little overboard with that. But that is a bit of a nitpick in the grand scheme of things. And again, I thoroughly enjoyed my time in this game and highly recommend it.
yeah, well, there you go. Wes's seal of approval. I believe Mash was pretty much saying very similar stuff, at least in his time in there. So that's 2 out of 3 of us, and the only reason I don't have an opinion on it is that I wasn't able to get into the game. Although I'm going to try that 120 thing, Hertz thing, and see if that does let me play it and let you know if I get in there.
You should. It's good. It's worth your time. Anyway, that is all for the headlines this week. Let's move along to this week's reminders, where we will start out by taking a look at the XR update release calendar for April. And as usual, quite a lot of things coming this month and quite a few things coming this week, Roots. We have Escape Simulator VR, which actually is a flat game. Escape Simulator, you look at it and you look at the graphics and you think, man, that's a Quest game right there. This is actually a flat game on Steam, and it looks just like that. So I guess cartoony graphics aren't only on standalone VRs; they're also on Steam indie flat games as well. But this is a free VR upgrade for Escape Simulator, and
Really?
it wasn't originally going to be that. It was originally going to be a standalone VR title, but for whatever reason, the devs over the last few months decided, you know what, let's just make it a free upgrade, and everyone that buys the game gets both copies, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yep, I agree.
Sea Smash VR is coming to Quest. This is a remake of a classic Sega Dreamcast game that apparently was fairly popular in its time. It launched on PlayStation VR 2 earlier this year, and now it's coming to Quest. It's kind of like it's an esport game, kind of like Spark, but not exactly. Anyway, let's take a closer look at a couple of these that I find to be a bit more interesting.
Welcome to Home Run Derby VR. Time to step up to the plate and go big. Holy cow! Crush! Let's go! What a bomb! That's a rocket to center field! Someone call NASA, because that's a moonshot. Boy, he's in a groove now. Back to back to back. On fire. Can't get better than this. Here's the gold ball. It's on its way. Wow, broken bat. That ball is high. It's fair. And it's gone. This kid is special. Go big, go yard. Home Run Derby VR. Available now.
Home Run Derby VR. This game actually came out this past week. We weren't around last week to tell everyone that it was about to drop. But this is the first officially licensed Major League Baseball game for VR. Now, of course, it isn't the full-fledged baseball game that I'm sure baseball fans were hoping for, but rather more of a kind of take like NFL Pro Era was for the NFL last year. So MLB Home Run Derby VR, I guess, Roots, they still have to figure out how to do a first-person baseball simulator in VR. But for people who are really fans of Major League Baseball, I got to imagine it would be pretty cool to step into your favorite stadium and sit and take batting practice. There's a bunch of different game modes here. It isn't just, home run derby. There's all of the teams and the different stadiums. And again, a bit of fan service here. But if you're a fan, this was probably pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the reality. Is a lot of people will go to actual batting cages and do it. They'll go to VR, or not VR, but arcades, maybe a Dave and Buster's, and they've got something set up and do virtual things for that, whether it be football, golf, whatever. So I don't see that this is that outside the realm of fun if you like it. And my thing is, I would love to actually play a game, and even if remember, like, we had the old school ones where your little guy just ran around the bases, and it was like a little handheld, and it was so basic, and you could do that times a million in an actual game, baseball game, and it wouldn't be that hard to do. And I think we're right around the corner. And this is the thing people need to remember: these were stepping stones. This is a stepping stone, just like the football game was, and this is a stepping stone that actually has the Major League Baseball franchise behind it, right? Like you said, all the stadiums, players, whatever they've added in there. And so this, even though it's not the full game that I would like, I guarantee there is people out there that just get into VR, and they think it's going to be the coolest thing that they can get in the stadium, that the Texas Ranger Stadium, and fucking hit some balls, and it could be really fun. So I don't know, how's it been received? It's already been out, right?
Just a couple of days, and Gabriel and Looper are absolutely right that I've forgotten, but this there was a version of this on PSVR 1. You're absolutely right. And it didn't work too well with the move controllers, as I recall. I didn't try it, but I remember not hearing the best things about it. This is an updated version of it, though. I'm pretty sure that they've added in game modes, new game modes and stuff into this Quest version of it.
Yeah. 100%. Well, you know, I think it's cool. I mean, it's not going to be for everybody, but nothing is for everybody, and you know, so.
And we're doing game of the month this week. This is in our library. It has been for a couple of weeks, so I might even get in and give it a few swings just to see how good it is. I'm not a huge baseball fan either, but it looks fairly polished from the stills and gameplay footage that I've seen. So we'll see. We'll see if it's worth anything as a game.
You know, ironically, I'm not the biggest baseball fan either, but if I had to choose a sport that I would most want to watch in person, it's baseball and or hockey. And you know, I think there's something to be said about baseball. It's kind of like, you know, amusement parks, right? Everybody wants to go to Disney, Six Flags. There's something to be said about SeaWorld too, you know, because there's a very few lines and it's more about just chilling and relaxing, checking shit out. And I think that's kind of what, you know, so.
You know who lives in SeaWorld, Roots?
My mom!
And that's the letter C.
She is the C. Oh, I don't want to be rude. That's rude. Not nice.
Anyway, let's talk about some stuff that's actually out this week.
Attention all explorers. To ensure a safe trip through our caves, keep your hands, arms, feet, and legs away from the railings. Attention all explorers, your appointed guide will now begin your descent. Your descent. Please gather your smallest adventurers and proceed to the central platform. Thank you.
Breaking news, the Ember Mountain Project. Swarms are preparing to be the first historians and researchers, hoping to uncover glittering treasures and forgotten lore. So zealous are the candidates, even the most seasoned institutions of academia are losing their brightest minds to the siren's call. The reports from the Acheron Restoration Project boast new discoveries at fevered pitch, with plenty of openings for new explorers who don't mind the dirt. Explore mysterious ruins, uncover fantastical marvels, and rediscover otherworldly beauty as you overcome ingenious puzzles. Part exploration puzzler, part escape room, and part horror adventure. The world of Ember Mountain awaits those with a creative mind and an adventurous spirit. Built from the ground up for VR, delve through lost treasures, deflect falling objects, hurl torches to light pathways, scale improvised ladders, and cross narrow bridges in the inky darkness of a fantastical subterranean world. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the last safe place coming to Steam VR tomorrow from a single-man dev team.
Wow.
Not a lot of information on this out there, Roots. Very little whatsoever, actually. Just pretty much the Steam page is it. No social media presence, no trailer on YouTube. Everything just coming from Steam. But we're talking about it here because, I mean, it don't look half bad if you look at it look at the footage. It looks like it's a decent looking game. Anyway,
Yeah, it's the last safe place too. That's scary. I don't. I don't. Does it's creepy. Yeah. Hopefully it's good. We'll find out tomorrow, right?
I guess so. The last safe place coming to Steam VR, April 1. No idea how much it's going to cost, but it should be out tomorrow.
Well, I'll tell you what. As compelling as that trailer looks, the next one I actually look forward to more.
Let's take a look. SpryGuy launches this week, Thursday, on MetaQuest platform, coming soon to PlayStation VR 2 as well. This is from VR Monkey, the devs that have brought us many, many awesome titles, most recently Galaxy Kart. Roots, this is a first person platformer that has you basically throwing yourself from platform to platform by grabbing and just tossing. But unlike a similar game called Toss, there's a lot more mechanics to this one. Once you get in the air, there are various mechanics built into the game that you can use to kind of move in different directions. You have a lot more control when you're midair, and you can really, really throw yourself high up and far in this game.
Well, I love platformers in general, but I also like the feeling of being flung up in the air in VR and you know, what's that other one that we To the Top? I thought To the Top was super cool, super fun. But it graphically doesn't look any as even as cool as this one does, right? This one, like you were saying during the trailer, looks like a Nintendo game. You know what I mean? Like it just looks super cool, very colorful. I just think I can't wait to check it out. And Jin says, I guess I can't see exactly what that name says. I'm a big kid. I am as well. And like I was telling Wes during the trailer, I just want to have fun in games. And this game looks really fun. And so I can't wait to check it out.
Yeah, it's cool. You're right. It is very Nintendo-y. And it has multiplayer. It supports multiplayer, which is really cool as well. Yeah, so those of you out there who like Toss, you're gonna love SpryGuy. SpryGuy is a better game than Toss. And like Chatty says, even adults will love it. SpryGuy is really, really fun. It's really very well done. It's been out on App Lab for a while, but it's getting notable upgrades this week when it comes onto the official Quest store. So pick it up. I don't even know if you can still pick it up on App Lab, but if you can, you might want to. I think it might be getting a bit of a price bump when it launches, when the full version launches this Thursday.
Looper just solidified me wanted to play it even more. Said surprisingly challenging, which is exactly what I want. A fun challenge. I change what I said. I want a fun, challenging game. But at the heart, it needs to be fun first, right? So.
No, it's great. It's great, and it's coming to PSVR 2 like very soon. Like you're not going to have to wait for months on this one. But we'll talk about that when the time comes. Any idea on price? Give me a half a second here, and I can tell you most likely what the price is going to be. I don't know 100% sure, but I think I might have that information at the ready. Just a moment. You want
Is it going to have crossplay? That's a good question. Or do you
I'm
know?
fairly certain it's going to that it will have crossplay.
Okay.
Yes. All right, let's go to
Virtual Steve. I have to 100% disagree with. Well, I can't disagree with your feelings, but I didn't share what you feel. He says this just makes me want to play Sprint Vector again. The game was just way ahead of his time. I feel about Sprint Vector the same way I feel about Caillou VR. I don't want to play Minecraft where I got to do this for, you know, the whole game. And yes, I'm overdoing it and still actually using my hand like a pickaxe, because this, can you imagine doing this, Wes, for like hours on end in a game? Like I feel like maybe just hitting a B button would be a better way to swing my axe in a VR game. And maybe a little less more immersive, but I can't.
$15.
Oh,
$15 for Skyclimb.
Brandon VR dropping key in the chat for Skyclimb.
Well, there you go.
Somebody pick it up quick.
Get it quick, ladies and gents. Thank you, Brandon. That's awesome. But no, it'll be $15 on the Quest store Thursday.
Worth $15 all day from what you're describing. So 65 levels of single player levels, and then I don't know how many is that for the, and then it's got the level editor as available in mixed reality, so you can like create the level and be able to do it in your room and not have to be, you know, and walk around and really set it up well. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a legit game. Everyone should check it out, but I'm sure we'll be talking more about that very soon. Anyway, what's next on reminders? Oh, it's time to take a look at some viewer comments from the last couple of episodes.
That's not the viewer
Jesse,
comments. That's the wrong one. Sorry.
Well, I mean, you could scroll down. There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Jesse Kip says the flat to VR announcement is music to my ears. Glad someone finally answered the call.
Absolutely.
Yeah, me too. Super excited to be a part of it. And yeah, stay tuned. Cool announcements await.
Brandon VR dropped a second Skyclimb key in the chat.
Brandon VR is definitely hooked up with VR Monkey.
Yeah, you're working for them all of a sudden? No, that's cool, Brandon.
Yeah. No, I guess full disclosure, I should point out that Skyclimb VR Monkey is a client for Impact Reality. That's the reason why I have all this info on them right now. But
well, regardless,
Brandon VR is the one with the keys.
A good game is a good game. I don't care who's the client, and at least I for one don't work for Impact, and so people should take that into consideration as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people know me. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell them that something's good when it's not. Like, I'll either not talk about it or I'll just straight up tell you that it sucks. Skyclimb's good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brandon, for sharing the keys. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Corporate Zombie says Aka R is really fun. By the way, if you haven't played using the trackpad and the 2-button control scheme, you definitely should. The gameplay is much faster and it's much easier and arguably way more fun. Definitely try it. It transforms the gameplay. So I guess what he means is the DualSense trackpad. This part right here.
I don't know. That's weird. I don't like. I'm too old to do that. I think. Am I able to do that, Wes? That would feel weird. That's definitely different.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe that'd be good.
Maybe. I don't know. He says try it, so maybe we'll try it. I'm sure we'll be back into the game soon, and yeah, maybe I'll try that way out.
Yeah.
Black Market Honey says, so according to Ivory, the PSVR 2 will need an adapter to connect to the PC effectively. Maybe Sony is letting the current stock sell out so that they can begin to ship a new package with the PC adapter. They would also need to update the info on the box to promote the PC compatibility. And this is absolutely true. And this is something I've said to a few people now is just because they're halting production doesn't mean they're never going to make any again. Like if they want to do a new bundle with a different game other than Horizon, or like Market Honey points out, if they want to send it ready to plug into a PC, they would have to stop, right, and switch over and start building out new bundles. So yeah, it makes sense that they would want to sell off their stock before they make any more. So again, there could be lots of reasons behind them stopping production. I don't think that they've made their last PSVR 2.
No, because why would their games wouldn't be made? They're like they wouldn't be funding stuff, and like that just seems weird that people think it's dead. I don't know. I think they just need to fire a bunch of people and bring in people that know what the fuck they're doing, marketing and.
I just think that there are certain anti PSVR actors in the gaming media, anti Sony, anti PlayStation, and they've done a very effective job at basically killing the enthusiasm for PSVR 2 over the last 6 months or so.
Looper says what Akara needs is the res style eye tracked aiming. How cool would that be?
That would be cool. It might make it a little too easy, but because it's cool in res. It's a cool thing to go into res and check out. Not my preferred way of playing, though. It makes res a little too easy to be able to just look at things and shoot them.
Right.
But it is cool. Main fan says what Ruuts said he wanted in Nexus is in Nexus. Boarding ships, sword fights on ships, assassinating random people. Also, you don't really need to search for crap all that often. You can mostly skip it all. True, and true, Ruuts. I think he's telling you need to play a little bit more.
Well, I agree. Maybe I do need to play a little bit more just because Main Fan is like said it several times, and I really respect his opinion. So I will go back in there just because he's saying it's so good. But I think I was mainly talking more about that other game that Ubisoft released and how it's like they would have been better off to just do another Assassin's Creed Black Flag or use that as the basis as the game. But everything he just described in Nexus sounds fucking badass. So maybe I just need to go in there and just spend more time in it. So I agree, Main Fan.
I thought about this. I've been thinking about this lately, and it's just one of my dumb ideas that I always have. Shit that we could do that we won't because we don't have time to make changes to our schedule. But I thought, how cool would it be for us to kind of revert back to some of the old Monday show concepts of like backlog report and because I said so, and we had some pretty cool concepts before we rebranded. And it would be fun to go back to that stuff sometimes.
I think so too. And I think people would enjoy it. And I enjoyed because I said so. And we're kind of, in a sense, it's kind of, because I said so UEVR mod, what we're doing, right? Because like you decided the last time one, I'm deciding Weird West. MASH will pick the next one. Because it's like I went into Weird West, and when I played it both times, I really thought of Wes, and I thought, oh God, Wes is gonna really fucking dig this game. Like he's really gonna like it, and so we're creating excuses to get in there, and play these amazing games. So I think that's a really good idea.
Well, the reason why I was thinking about it, and what made those segments so cool, was we weren't all playing the same games. Like we covered a lot more games back then because we would come in with different stuff to talk about. Like you'd talk about what you played and I would talk about what I played. It kind of allowed us to cover more stuff,
That is true. That is true.
Yep. Gephardt says, I utilize Shock's Bluetooth bone conduction headphones to listen to the podcast while using earbuds for in-game audio, and I love the setup. I do the plug-in the cans for guests since sharing buds is gross, but thanks for the great content.
It is gross, dude. You look at people's buds.
That's a good idea, though. Have you ever used the bone conduction stuff, Ruuts?
I don't even know what that is.
What is it? So what this is, these are headphones that don't go over your ears. What they do is you put them, they kind of go onto your jawbone, like your face, and they send vibrations through your jawbone into your inner ear so that you hear stuff in your ears without there being an audible sound. It just vibrates it into your ear canal. I've never used it, but apparently it sounds like headphones when you're wearing it, especially when you're listening to podcasts and stuff.
How weird. Like, that technology sounds super weird, but cool. Yeah. I've never heard of that. Sounds cool. I like the over-the-ear ones, at least for what we do, just because it keeps any stuff from bleeding in the things. But I think that's super cool. Never heard of it. But I do say that sharing earbuds is gross, because everybody's got earwax.
Yeah, for sure. So what Gephardt is referring to here was kind of some of our woes we had the other day when I was trying to set up and do a real-time review with my new headphones that I bought to do real-time reviews with, but I couldn't set it up to do what I wanted with it because the big selling point of these is that you can do dual connection. It comes with a PlayStation Link dongle that'll connect to whatever you plug it into, your PlayStation, your PC, whatever. But at the same time that you're using that, you can also use Bluetooth. So what that means is when I'm doing a PlayStation real-time review, I can hear the game audio as well as be connected to the PC at the same time to hear Ruuts and Eric. That's why I bought it. But the other day when I set up to actually use it for the first time, I had the Bluetooth connected to the PC. I had the link adapter connected to the PlayStation. Whenever I would connect the headphones to the link adapter, the social audio would quiet. It would stop, which means that if I'm trying to stream, that the people in the stream can't hear the game audio. So that's an automatic disqualification. That's a no-no. The players need to be able to hear, or the viewers need to be able to hear the game audio. So I had to go back to my old setup where I put the earbuds in. I put on another pair of headphones over them. I found out from Looper after the show that there is an exception for VR games. So Ruuts apparently, even though the menu went quiet when I connected these headphones, and any flat game I would have played would have been quiet when I had the headphones connected. Apparently there's an exception for VR games. So if I start a VR game, the social audio would come back.
Ooh.
I never tried it. I never made it that far. When the menu audio dropped out, I said the social audio is gone. I can't use this.
Wow.
But according to Looper, and it only works for VR games and not flat games for some reason. But when you're playing a VR game, not only will it go to the headphones, but it will go to the television as well. So that might solve most of my problems. I mean, it still doesn't solve the problem where the microphone through Bluetooth only uses the kind of hands-free audio, which is kind of low quality. But I can work around that. I can put my my mod mic on these headphones or on the VR headset and work around that. So if what Looper says is true, then I might not have to return these headphones.
Nice. Well, let's verify. I guess you're running into that window of time, right? But that's how amazing is it to be able to use something for what you bought it for, right? Because I agree 100%. If you couldn't do that, there's so many more better headsets you could get for 150. Like those ones, that what makes it shine is that for you is that feature, and then of course they're good headsets as well.
Yeah, the thing about it is the type of speakers that are in these, or like an advanced type of speaker that typically when you buy headphones with this type of speakers in them, they're $200+. That's why everybody's so high on these Elite headphones, because the Elite ones have they're the cheapest on the market that have this type of sound quality.
Well, I'll tell you what, having a good pair of headphones is more than just Like people are like, yeah, I'll just get a $20-$30. Well, you can, but having one like Wes has there, it's like you just said, designed with good headset or good, speakers is important. So especially for VR.
Yeah. Plus these things, like the battery on it's like over 30 hours. It's pretty cool. I don't have to charge them all the time. And they come with a charging dock. Like there's a little hook thing that you can mount on your wall. It's just like a hook that you hang these things on, and they have a charging lead in the top of the band. So you just hang it on the thing and it charges.
Oh my god! Like, why would you? Every headset should be that way, right? It's like that common sense. You have a hook to hang it on, and it charges on itself as a thing. That's really good. It's cool.
Yeah, they're nice headphones. I didn't want to send them back, so hopefully what Looper says is true, and I won't have to.
Well, it's coming from Looper, so I'm pretty sure it's true. But it'll just being able to verify it is good. Now there's talk in the chat about Skull and Bones, which is the game I was alluding to earlier. And I was talking about that Ubisoft really blew it on that one. And somebody made a good point, Jin, that calling it AAA or quadruple A made it look even worse. And saying that GTA 6 is the only true quad A game. Well, we have no idea. We've seen one trailer, and I'm assuming if you go by GTA 5, it absolutely will be quadruple. I would put Elden Ring on the quadruple level, A level, and I would also put Baldur's Gate 3, and that would be about the only two other games that have came out recently that I would say you could consider quadruple A, and both games are worth what they're saying quadruple A could cost, and everything else is probably not good enough to be, in my opinion. So
DVN in the chat, DVN says, hi, I'm one of the guys that did the assets for OVRDARK.
Ooh,
I have no idea how the game's story or gameplay, but I heard it looks pretty all right. Yes, I'm a big fan of your game. And if you're just now tuning in, be sure after the show's over that you scroll back a few minutes to catch my review of OVRDARK. I'm a big fan of the game. I finished it yesterday and absolutely love it. I think the art's great. I think the sound design is awesome. I think the story's good. It's just a really good horror title all around, and I think that you and your team should be proud of the game that you put out. It's exceptional. It's really good. So, congrats. And that brings to the next comment from Alex Blanco 2504, who says, I gotta say, I was the total opposite of Eric's comments in the OVRDARK segment. Propagation is the scariest thing I've ever experienced. I enjoyed OVRDARK, but it didn't come close to scaring me in the same way. The scale of OVRDARK is maybe a little bigger than Paradise Hotel. Think the mansion in RE8, but a bit smaller. And there are great visual details. But Propagation's control scheme felt better to me, and it was way scarier for me. Still a great game for indie, though. Recommend both. All right, so I agree and I disagree. First of all, I think you're right about one thing, and that is that Eric severely undersells Propagation Paradise Hotel. That's a much better game than he gives it credit for being. He basically had one expectation of what he thought it was going to be. He played it on Quest and Steam and was severely disappointed. And I think that disappointment carried over to the PlayStation VR version, which is by far the best version of the game. But I think at that point he was already ruined on Propagation. So I'll agree with you there. I think he undersells that game tremendously. With that said, I think I like OVRDARK more. It's definitely scarier. Like, it's definitely a scarier game than Propagation is to me. I think visually they're pretty close on PlayStation VR 2. I think the sound design's better on OVRDARK. They're different games. You know, comparing them one to one isn't really fair because one's more of a zombie shooter and the other is like a stealth puzzle game. So there's that. But I think OVRDARK, it's a bigger game, it's a longer game, it's a scarier game, and for my personal taste, I think it's a better game. But
They are.
again, with that said, Propagation Paradise Hotel is very good as well.
They are similar in the respect that they're both like Resident Evil like type of games, right? Even though that one's more Resident Evil-ish as with the puzzles and stuff. So yeah, I'd 100% agree. And SpryGuy says OVRDARK review is at 1 minute and 27 seconds, or I mean 1 hour and 27 minutes approximately, which is what you would hope to hear from a good mod that is doing timestamps. Yeah, that's a smart way to do it. Do it as the show's going, right?
Shout out SpryGuy, by the way, for doing the timestamps every week, like clockwork. You're a good friend, so thank you very much. We do appreciate you very much.
Absolutely.
Because God knows I ain't doing that shit. So
no timestamps without Spry. I don't think anybody wants to do it. I wasn't going to do it either. It's like the D doing the audio version, right? So.
Making sure Devian caught that so we can go back and watch it.
Okay.
And that brings us to Wishlist. It is time for us all to do our part to support the developers out there by taking just a moment of our time right now as we go in real time and wishlist a title. Could be one of these titles we talked about today, or it could be something else that's on your radar. But this is a big deal. Wishlists are important for these developers' Ruuts. At Impact this past week, we have a developer that's literally spending tens of thousands of dollars so that we can generate pre-launch wish lists for them. Like, it's that big of a deal.
Wow.
They have to hit certain thresholds on the storefronts to get a certain amount of publicity from the storefronts. So these platform holders say, "Hey, man, if you can generate this much interest on your own, then we'll promote you when your game comes out."
Makes sense.
So they're literally, So they're literally spending tens of thousands of dollars to try to generate wish lists. And that's why we come on here every week and say to people, it's important. It's a very easy and quick thing for you to do, but it is important for these studios. And they do very much appreciate it. So this week I wishlisted Metal Hellsinger VR because who doesn't want to play a Doom rhythm game?
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks amazing. And I think I'm going to do the same thing. And I agree. And there's something you don't, I know there's somebody out there. They're like, I'm not doing it because I don't give a fuck about the devs, which is weird. They're the one making the game, but do it for you. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be a point where these games go on sale and you're going to want to know it. Like, you literally get told, hey, this game's on sale, and you won't miss it. I've missed so many sales, Wes, because I didn't wish list. I'm putting my foot down. I'm never doing it again. I'm going to make sure that I always wish list from here forward for them and for me. So
there you go. Leon Kennedy fan in the chat says, I almost forgot to hit the like button. Let's all do that, folks. And then we had a couple other people say, oh, damn, I forgot. Yeah, same here. Yeah. If you like it, help us to defeat the evil algorithm by clicking the thumbs up button and killing it with positivity.
Yeah. And also leave comments. And even if it's like, hey, I like Frosted Flakes. I might tell you, there's better cereal. But any comment helps the algorithm. But the biggest thing about doing it during the show that a lot of people don't realize on a live show, the more people that like it, especially in the beginning, it sends out like notifications to other people like, hey, you might check this out. There's 150 people watching. And then maybe we're at like, it's just kind of crazy, but PSVR 2 without parole levels because that's fucking crazy. But like, I could see it, and with just with everybody's help, and then of course with our content, which is, I think, the best.
We'll get there, man. I'm winning the game cats over one cat at a time, man. And they continue to come over and join our community, and we love them for it.
Well, they're the best.
Jen 007, a license to chill, says Sony needs to make their wish list bigger. Mine's always full. I didn't know that there was a limit on it, but if there
Really?
is, you're absolutely right. Yeah. Which is something that we all should do is go in from time to time and kind of clean it up.
Clean it up.
I do it probably twice a year. I'll go in and
Hold on. Those are disconnected for a second there. Just reconnected. Oh, it's just
Okay.
wait. Yeah, no, it's reconnected. Yeah. And I don't know that usually it'll like kind of hover, but it actually said, hey, fuck you. We're disconnecting, but it's back.
Old Dart says meow. Yeah, I think it's kind of funny too because we have all these game cats that come over, and then in about 3 months they build computers, and then they don't have game cat on their on their name anymore.
Yeah,
I
they're
think
kind of
it's,
they're
it's
merging.
funny.
They're merging
Yeah,
in the middle.
that's right.
Well, wait
They're
until the
agnostic.
PSVR 2 is playable on the PC and it becomes the best headset. So,
That's right. Hopefully we won't have to wait long.
yeah. Cool.
Oh, and that brings us to our final reminder this week and every week, and that is how you can do your part to support us, our channel, and our community. Of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. Click the subscribe button, ring the bell. We're doing shows again, folks, and we're getting better at it still every time that we do one. So if you don't want to miss out, make sure you're subscribed. And yeah, I've been having fun since we got back, and I imagine the good times are going to continue to roll. So I invite you to be a part of that with us. Of course, if you're already subscribed and you want to do something more, you can always support us on Patreon. $3 per week or per month. Per month. $3 per month. Less than
Per
$1
week,
per
per
week.
month.
That's all. Yeah.
You could do more. There's no limit on it, right?
Oh
So-
no, there are tiers. The top tier is like $20. But everybody gets the same thing, right? They get the weekly show notes. They get occasional exclusive content and insider updates, and they get their name in the ticker at the end of the show, thanking them for their support.
Now, where does your
So,
support,
thank
where does
you.
their support go? Oh, Wes is wearing them on his head. Roots is talking into his microphone.
That's
like,
right.
and before that, my PSVR 2 came from patrons. Some of your traveling is like literally everything. We're not like padding our what we're doing. That everything goes back into the show, everything. And so we appreciate it. And I wouldn't have this amazing mic. Wes wouldn't have those headphones if we didn't have you guys out there helping. So
Right, and we buy the main thing that we buy with it's game keys.
Correct.
We buy game keys to mod in the VR. The AAA games we don't get review keys for AAA games. We buy those with the funds that are donated to Patreon, and then giveaways like the 2023 show giveaway. A lot of those keys, I mean, most of them were donated, but some of them we had to just go buy. And again, it's all thanks to people who leave super chats, people who support us on Patreon, people who donate to the PayPal. Impact Reality pays my bills. The Patreon is there for the show, and
Right.
it all gets put back into the show. So thanks everyone for your support.
Speaking of super chats, Mr. Bean with a €5.99. We appreciate that, and that's not what we're trying to. This is just the end of the thing. I felt compelled to really thank you guys because I really would have never jumped up to this microphone if I didn't know that almost half of it was paid for by them. So that's a big deal to me. So.
Yeah, Roots doesn't fuck around. Only the best microphones and equipment.
Well, I do have a problem, but I do like it. So
anyway, thank you, Mr. Bean, and thank you everyone who supports. But we get it. Times are tough. Dollars are worth less and less every day, and some people just don't have any money to contribute, and that's fine. That's why the Virtual Strangers Discord is 100% free. There's an invitation in the description down below. This is where you get access to us and everyone else in the community. Like patrons, they get their perks, but we're just as available to non-patrons as we are patrons, and that's because we're always on the Discord. All you got to do is go in there. If you have a question or comment, just tag us, and we typically respond pretty quickly. One thing's for sure, you will be greeted at the door when you join our community. People will tell you hello from the very minute that you join. So come on over. It's the best place to come and hang out. It's a relaxed atmosphere. We don't just talk about video games. We talk about nearly everything. And the Virtual Strangers Discord, 5 years and going. So yeah, come join.
Jin007 says, only my third time watching live, but seen Wes on Without Parole a few times. See, it's perfect. Perfect example. We appreciate you, and hopefully you had a fun time here. And no, we don't stream on Twitch as well. This is the thing.
Roots does.
I
Roots
do.
streams on Twitch.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird, and I guess I'll kind of explain why. I decided to stream mostly on Twitch just because it's mainly gaming and because nobody in our space does it. And even though I'm not streaming mostly VR, but it's mostly flat, but it's harder, at least for me, to build that community. And so I enjoy it. And I have more random people stumble by. YouTube's great for people that already know about you. It's not as easy to get people to discover you live anyway. But yeah, no, it's, as far as the podcast on Twitch, probably wouldn't be very good, right? But gaming would be good. So.
It just depends, man. YouTube has the algorithms, and there's advantages and disadvantages to the algorithms. Like, it's good for podcasting on YouTube because you fall into your lane, whatever that may be. For us, it's VR. For other people, it's other things. And if you hit certain thresholds with likes and views and live viewers, then YouTube will recommend you to other people that like VR, right? So if there are other people out there that are clicking around watching VR videos, we're much more likely on YouTube to be recommended to them. Now, with that said, it's pretty impossible that people are just going to stumble upon us randomly on YouTube. People don't just get things randomly in their recommended feed. It's all determined by the algorithm. That's where Twitch comes in. Like, people will stop in on Twitch, on Roots' Twitch stream, that are just happen to be flipping around seeing what's on Twitch, and there's Roots streaming. They'll actually be able to see that and click into it. So that's why Twitch is good for game streamers, because there's a lot more randomness to who can see you over there.
Yeah, I just typed it as he said. What is that? He's like, "What's your Twitch name?" It's the same. I am Roots. It's got the little dance or little Groot, angry Groot. So, but yeah,
it's about 75% or more flat games, but it's always a good time, and you'll see a lot of the same names in the chat over there. But eventually, you'll get some different people over there too.
Yeah, I enjoy it, and like
you'll get Messi. Like Messi comes in over there.
Yeah, Messi. I miss Messi. I haven't seen him for a while. Hope he's doing all right. And yeah, I've met so many amazing people on Twitch, and I should stream more VR. Just because it's a great opportunity to play the games that I got to play anyway, right?
So TB asked, does anyone have suggestions for keeping the IPD wheel on the PSVR 2 from moving during games? I don't have this problem at all. Like, it moves between games because when I take the headset on and off, I'll accidentally move it. But if it's moving during games on you, you're probably grabbing it when you readjust to get back in the sweet spot. So try to make a habit of doing that with your right hand instead of your left. And I think that you'll find that it stays in place pretty well.
If for some reason that still doesn't, there is a possibility that your slider is broken. And I'm not saying that's the case, but if it were to be like loose or something, that would, you know what I mean? And it's possible. My first, I think it was Quest Pro, literally was all jacked. I had to take it back. And I was like, why can't I get an actual good picture on this thing? But it was like the adjuster was messed up.
Jin007 also points out that people that have Amazon Prime get a free subscription on Twitch every month as well. So you can subscribe to someone's channel for free and they'll get the money from that.
Absolutely. And my I have Stream Elements. It reminds the Twitch of that. About every 45 minutes it says, hey, did you know that Amazon Prime gives you a free Twitch subscription. That's one of the
It's
perks of it.
But you have to do it every month. That's the kind of downside to
Correct.
it, is it doesn't just automatically subscribe you. You have to go in every month and give it your free sub over and over and over again.
Right, right, and that's why a lot of streamers, the big streamers, can't miss a day. They say that when, at least from what I've seen, if they miss a day, it's a lot of revenue because a lot of people have that, or it pops up that they have it free, and then maybe they give it to somebody else or whatever. So
Something else too. Old Darth says, yeah, if there's no tension in the wheel, something's busted. There is another possibility. If your IPD is super low, um, it could be that that your nose is pushing the lenses apart. And for that, what I would suggest that you do is take the visor and move it away from your eyes just a click. I do that anyway for comfort. Like if I put it all the way in, I can feel the thing on the bridge of my nose, and I don't even have to like push it. I can just push the button in, and the pressure from it being on my nose will push the thing out just a little bit. And the difference in the field of view is negligible. It's like a degree that it makes, and it's so much more comfortable. So I would suggest that you try that as well. Just kind of press that button in and pull it off of your nose a little bit so that you're not putting that pressure on the IPD slider.
absolutely. And Super Nintendo Chalmers wants to know if VR is a tougher setup to stream, and it's not tougher. I mean, it can be to some extent, and there's a little bit more jank that comes with it. But for me, it's I don't, there's something to be said about, like, even this, like, and Brad's done it on the CruCast. I wouldn't do it if I had the Apple Vision Pro. I might have done it once, of wearing it and having, just for the doing it thing, right? And having the avatar or whatever. But I feel like there's something that gets lost in the disconnect in the streaming. Like when you're streaming, there's a connection between me and you, because I'm looking at you, you're looking at me. But when I've got that headset on, there's a disconnect. For me streaming, I don't enjoy it as much as streaming VR games as flat. I feel like I can be more entertaining. I enjoy streaming flat games. That doesn't mean that I don't enjoy certain games for VR. For Pop One, I streamed so much of, like, hundreds of hours of it. And so if I find the right game, I could see myself really streaming a lot of VR. It's a different dynamic, and it's just a personal dynamic I need to get over. But it's just weird.
There are some things that make it more difficult. First of all, VR is very taxing on your computer to run VR. So when you're already kind of at the limit just to play a VR game, any VR game that's worth playing anyway, you're already at the kind of limit of your graphics card. So to run and capture that and stream it, that takes more system resources. So basically, you have to tweak your in-game settings down and kind of reduce the quality of your experience so that everyone can watch you online. The other thing that makes it more difficult is, you do have things that you have to do on your desktop when you're streaming to tweak things in and get it set up and make sure everything's running well. And it's just a pain in the ass to do blindfolded, right? So because you've got this thing on your face, and the mouse and keyboard's in real life and your monitor's in real life, you have to keep pulling the thing off or raising it up and clicking things and putting it back down and raising it up and clicking some more stuff. It's just a pain in the ass. Now that's going to go away. Now that we have high definition color pass through, as that becomes the norm on these VR headsets, we're going to be able to just leave them on and still be able to see our monitors. But up until now, you've just been basically playing this game where you're putting it on, taking it off, and things like that. That kind of friction are the things that keep you from streaming, right? When you start thinking about having the stream and you think about all the bullshit that comes with it, you know what? I'll just play. I'm not going to stream. But with flat games, you don't really have that, right? You just basically you're capturing the same display that you're playing on. You're not putting a blindfold on. You can just play and hit a button and go live. So I get it. Some bad thing is for me is that I don't really enjoy flat gaming the way that Roots does. I'm a VR gamer, so like it's VR or nothing for me most of the time. And
It's got to be really good
so-
special game for you, right, to play flat,
yeah.
like Returnal or something.
Yeah, and there has to be a gap in like the VR schedule too, where I don't have VR stuff that I want to be playing. Right, basically.
Yeah, yeah, and then another friction thing is pulling up the chat. Like someone was saying, they need to make chat work in VR. That's the biggest thing. It's like just pulling even in Oculus, because you can just hit that plus, you can pull up the window, and now if you don't have a really good computer, that alone starts to get fucking weird. Like it just messes. It can mess everything up, and so you might decide, or like with Wes with PlayStation VR 2, you can't see the chat. So
or Quest,
PlayStation
and Quest.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's so bizarre to me, especially for Quest. It's been out how many years, and they've done so many things. And the fact that nobody's streaming to Facebook, Mark. You know, let's be realistic. Nobody's streaming to Facebook. There's no reason. You want us to stream there. You try to pigeonhole us into streaming there by not giving us the chat of Twitch. Just fucking put it there. Give it to us, please. Thank you. So anyway,
It'll come eventually. When they'll eventually give up and let us have it, but it'd be nice if they would just do that now. I think they're about to integrate 2D Android into the Quest ecosystem because of the way Apple put their whole flat library into the headset. I think that Meta's going to do something similar with Android, and that might mean Discord and YouTube playable in Quest, which would be great.
That would be awesome. Yeah, they're all steps. It'll come eventually, like you said. It's frustrating as a content creator, because there are games that I would have loved to stream Twitch from the Quest, and I can't. So
word. Anyway, I think that's our show this week, folks. I want to thank everyone for showing up and staying late. We're not going back to late on Sundays. We only went late today because of the holiday. We had family commitments earlier in the day that we had to go participate in. So next Sunday we'll be back on in the afternoon like normal. But until then, friends, I want to thank you all for watching. For Roots, I'm Wes. We'll see you probably tomorrow on the VR CruCast. Bye, everyone.
Take it easy.
Thank you.